Oh, man, I love the game of golf. It was a beautiful day out here today, wasn't it, baby girl?
Eh.
You didn't think it was a nice day today?
Well, I am sweating all over, so no, I didn't really think it was.
Well, I mean, you got to drive the car. You got to drive the car, and it did have the hood on it, so it kept the sun off of you.
Yeah, but it had no air conditioning.
Well, okay, fair enough. So, we're going to get something to eat, right?
Of course.
Cool.
And you're obviously paying, right?
Always. Always. Man, golf is a fun sport. Hey, I drove the ball pretty well today, don't you think?
Pretty well to the far right, yeah?
But okay, even though I went right, my iron game was really good, and I was able to fight my way out of that.
Yeah, but you hit it into the sand, and you did that quite often, might I add.
Even when I went in the sand, my chip was really tight, so I was able to get out of there and get close to the flag.
After 3 times.
You have to admit, though, my putting game was really good, and it saved me a lot of the times from all of the bad hits I had out in the fairway.
And it only took you 11 holes. Listen, until you get a good golfing game, I'm gonna keep giving you shit.
I'm improving. I mean, since I've gotten started, haven't I got a lot better?
Yes, you've gotten better since your injury.
We don't have to talk about my shoulder, but I mean, that's another reason why it's coming along slowly, but, you know, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
Sure.
Hey, baby girl, I'm about to go hop in the shower. When I get out, we head out to the volleyball tournament, okay?
Okay. Oh, can I use my the computer?
Oh, yeah, of course, baby. Of course. Hey, baby girl.
Yeah.
Repetition breeds familiarity.
Familiarity breeds comfort. Comfort breeds complacency or success. We're going for the latter rather than the former.
All right, good deal. Handle business.
Okay.
Hey, remember you're a beast out there. Act like it.
I will.
All right.
Let me see what he got in these emails. Spam. Overdue bills. Not surprised. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Young nigga got it bad 'cause he's broke. What is this? Sarah? Linda? Becky? Amber? Amy? Molly? Ginger? Heather? Karen? Oh, hell no. We are not having this. No, I don't want no Pancake Tuesdays. Oh God, delete. No, I do not want your lemon bars, Karen. Ooh, my dad's gonna get...
You know, it goes back to the church. It goes back to these early ideas. And, you know, people were trying to find a way to justify doing the evil they did, would take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and they would twist the Bible to fit where they wanted. You know, like, for example, this guy Cotton Mather, we might have heard of him back with the Salem witch trials and all that. Cotton Mather came up with the idea that everybody's soul is white. So they could preach the gospel to these slaves and they could be saved and accepted in the church because their soul was white. But because their body was black, that didn't give them equal rights to the other Christians, the white Christians. So I'm just saying that's why I'm saying this Western Christianity, it's a perversion of the truth. That's why I reject it. And I had said all that when I was talking before. I said I've been detoxing from Western Christianity is because a lot of what I grew up reading was a lot of white Christian authors and stuff, and some of the church, a couple of the churches I was associated with, they kind of embraced it. One was a white church, the one was a pastor, he was black, but they embraced certain of these ideas, and it took me a long time to just step back and say, nah, I got to pull back from this. And so, you know, it was to the point where it has been difficult to read the Bible because I don't want to read it through the filter of white Christianity. So that's when I say I've been detoxing from it, that's what I meant. I was trying to talk about it earlier, and I started cracking jokes on you and got distracted. But
and again, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I was just saying again, like when we really come around to, we're not that. We just have a few fundamental things we don't believe in. Really, just almost like different various religious disciplines. We just have a few things we disagree on. That's all. But again, sir, I agree on everything you're saying. And again, exception not the rule. Exception not the rule. You know, and I would actually come to your church, and I'm not going to tell a lie. I'm not going to say I'm going to try to keep my thoughts unpure, but I would pay attention when you're talking. And I would wait till I get outside of the church to do impure things with my impure thoughts. Again, too much information, but...
Well, as long as I don't have it praise dances, you might be good.
Hey, man. You know what? Let me stop. I'm sorry. Golly, I'm sorry. You didn't have the thought in my head just now.
But where you at, bro?
What was that? You mean?
Just trying to deal with you where you at, man. I wouldn't put you in that situation.
Hey, I mean, nothing wrong with interpretive dance. You know, nothing wrong with interpretive dance.
Do you have strong opinions and you're looking for a way to express them? Are you tired of carbon copy sports radio that infests the airwaves? Do you have creative concepts and ideas that you want to share with the world? Then this is not the commercial for you. This commercial is all about
Kinko's University.
That's right. Kinko's University gets you prepared for the podcasting world when you don't have the chops for it. If you're one of the many people looking to get into podcasting, but you just don't have the skill, Kinko's University is the university for you.
I want to do a podcast, but where do I start? And what do I talk about?
Kinko's University.
Don't worry. Here at Kinko's University, the first thing we teach you about is OPP. That's right. Other people's perspective. So you can always have something to talk about getting it from another source.
Podcasting looks fun, but do I really have to do all that research and show prep?
Kinko's University.
Absolutely not. Here at Kinko's, we have classes like No Preparation 101, where we teach you to get around all of that pesky show prep because we know you don't have the time.
I wonder what the best time slot is to get the most listeners.
Kinko's University.
Don't worry. Here at Kinko's, we have a class called Recycling Ideas 101, where you can find a time slot that works and just jump in that slot to try to make it happen for yourself.
Kinko's University.
I want to come up with new content and subject matter, but I'm not that creative.
Kinko's University.
You'll also take Regurgitation 101, which will help you come up with other people's subject matter that you can recycle and make your own. That's right, here at Kinko's, we teach you how to get around hard work, getting new wrinkles in your brain, and having to work hard at your craft. Come to Kinko's, where you can take these top courses with top teachers. Most people that go to Kinko's graduate with Kinko's degrees, that's right, as master copiers. Kinko's University, for the skilled impaired.
Kinko's University is not a real university and is not accredited. You don't actually learn any skills. You just learn how to mimic people who have actual skill.
Underground Railroad Show with that ninja. All aboard, have your tickets ready because the train has arrived. Delayed or on time, it's time to get on board.
What's going on, fam? This is the Underground Railroad Show, hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Hope y'all are enjoying the ride thus far. As I adjust my volume, something I should have done before the show started, but I thank you for coming aboard, and I apologize for any glitch that may occur because I am adjusting my volume. First and foremost, my apologies for Monday. I had every intention of coming on Monday, but life was life, and I'll keep it at that. Yesterday was going to be my makeup day.
And quite frankly, it was a bad time, so I didn't bother to give you less of a show than you should have got. So the content is not dated per se, but there are going to be a couple of things that were relevant to Monday that I'm going to speak about today. And just bear with me. It still has relevance, even though a couple of days have passed. But thank you for coming aboard and rolling with me. Truly appreciate it. And once again, I apologize for Monday. And I could have been, once again, should have been a little more diligent, but life was life. Life was life. So Monday, basically, by the time I was situated, it was too late to start a show. Even though the NBA chose to start that game at 8 Central, essentially 8 Central. I think technically 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, but that's a ridiculous start time for the Eastern time zone. Not so much for me. Eastern time zone, they essentially started the game at 9. That's some bullshit. People have to get up in the morning. People have things to do. People have no holds barred wrestling matches that are scheduled. I mean, you can't start the game when halftime should begin. They have to do a little bit better than that. I guess they're attempting to maximize viewers or whatever they're doing, but it is what it is. So my apologies for Monday. I know it rings hollow to a degree, but again, trust me, it was legitimate. Yesterday, it wouldn't have been what it needed to be. So I'm ready to roll today. Thank you for coming aboard and rolling with me today. Have a couple of opening thoughts on the title of my show, Impact. Title of today's show is Impact. And I set my show up Monday. I'm just going to go with the same. Well, the show I had set up for Monday, I'm just going to roll with it today. Title of today's show is Impact. To have an impact in the context that I'm using it means to have a strong effect on someone or something. To have a strong effect on someone or something. And I will elaborate on the title of today shortly. The title of today's show shortly. First thing I wanted to tell you is, and I was doing this Monday. I was going to tell you this. Hey, I just got done doing this, but this happened Monday before I was getting ready to do the show. I mentioned this before. Where I live at now, across the street, my neighbors right across the street, those are my father's friends. My father's friend, rather, lives across the street, and it's essentially the unofficial hangout spot for all the retired ninjas in the area. So everybody that my pop kicked it with, basically that's retired and still around, they pretty much come over there and kick it. They just randomly start barbecuing or doing whatever. So they're always kicking it over there. I know I go over there and holler at them and whatnot. So I did that Monday. I meant to do it on Father's Day, but I was busy that day. Myself and the great TSA. And I'll get into that in 1 second. Myself and the great TSA were engaging in activity that particular day for a short time. So, and obviously he was busy that day. But Monday I took it upon myself to go across the street and holler at him. My other father's friend was there as well. So, I guess it'd be cool. Tuck and Earl. I'll give you the somewhat real names and nicknames. So, a couple of my pop's friends. So I just sitting around just talking about, just the way they grew up. Pop would come up, little stories here and there, but really mainly just talking about life. I've learned because I've slipped on other knowledge that I should have recorded. I know now that, take the time to do that. I think for the most part, my generation, people around my age, about a decade below, maybe at least 4 to 6 years for sure, 4 to 8 years for sure. But we understand the value of listening to an old head, and you can listen to an old head and take the advice or leave it. You can, even if somebody isn't talking about anything or they aren't in a great position in life, you can learn either through verbiage or by example. But for the most part, listening to old heads is always a good time. You can receive some knowledge and get information firsthand, especially considering they're erasing our history right before us, and we don't have any representatives that seem to be offended by this, and obviously not enough of us. These are the type of things I would hope the NAACP would be doing. They should be jumping up and down and screaming about our history being erased. And if they are, I haven't heard much about it. But I digress. Another story for another day. But essentially, I've told them before that I wanted to ask them some questions and kind of interview them. And, this time of year, they call it the dog days of summer. I love this time of year. I get to be creative. I get to get into all the shows I like to do. And I wanted to do essentially a history lesson. I'll figure out a clever way to title it later, but I wanted to speak about our real history and the way that the things that happened as they were coming up. These individuals were alive during desegregation and a lot more, as I spoke about, I have a Bible, old school Bible. You know, big, fancy color pictures in it. You know, the way they used to make them back in the day. This Bible was probably made, I know for a fact it was made at least in the early 1900s, if not the 1800s. Because it was gifted to my great-grandfather. His name's in it, and he was born in the early 1900s, either 1908 or 1913, which gave me a reference point to even further understand that those days were not that long ago, because my great-grandfather was alive, and his parent had to have been a slave. If not, they damn sure got a good look at it. And I remember my great-grandfather vividly. Called him Uncle Charlie. Him and my father drove us to Columbus, Ohio, to meet my relatives up there, and my grandmother up there for the first time that I can remember, you know, when I was of age. They drove us up there for the first time. I remember sitting around talking to him. He was very much alive and vibrant. So how long ago could it be if I'm talking to somebody that was born in the early 1900s? But point being that was his Bible. It was gifted to him, and it had that date on it. And I was like, damn. Yeah, I had that put up, but it just gave me a reference point for the time frame. And again, to not go too far, I value people that are still, I wish I would have known enough. I was a child, but I wish I would have known enough to get that information. Like the point of view that he had, or the viewpoint and things that he saw. He was alive during many a massacre. Hell, so were a lot of our parents. Well, grandparents for sure. Great-grandparents and grandparents, they saw a lot of massacres. So, or they were around during the time the massacres occurred, and unfortunately, some of them might have been around and were able to survive. But point being, it's a rich history that will never get taught here, because they're erasing it in front of us as they speak about, well, we don't want our kids to feel bad. I won't drift off into that. That'll be another show. But the point of all that is I'm going to interview those three cats that were over there. You know, Tucker, Earl, and James. You know, just throw the names out there. I might, you know, but I'm going to interview them about growing up and what they saw growing up and what they experienced and how they feel about desegregation. These are some of the things that we were talking about. And I'll do this as a radio tease ahead of time. One thing that I found very interesting that I did not know is that Catholic schools were desegregated since the 60s. One of them went to private school, a Catholic school. So his point of view and perspective is slightly different, because he went to school with white kids from the time he was little. It was normal to him because he went to Catholic school, and Catholic school was desegregated. So he had a different perspective. There was another individual that was one of the first black people to go to this particular school. You have that perspective. And I have somebody that was kind of pretty much in the same area where he would have experienced the things that my father experienced. So I'm going to line up some questions, you know, during certain time frames. You know, I'm going to fashion it in a certain period to talk about certain things. Actually, if anybody has something that, you know, will cross their mind, they'd like to ask somebody that was there around that time, you know, you can obviously talk to your people. But if something just crosses your mind, you can throw it out there or type it in and I'll take a note. But I'm going to ask them a series of questions and try to do it in chronological order. So, you know, perhaps I can have a part 2 or 3. So it's probably going to be off air, the interview itself, and I'll, you know, play it and talk about it and, you know, go back and forth with y'all about it. But that's, I'm going to do that show, you know, coming up pretty soon. I can't tell you for sure. It's going to have to be when all of those cats are available. I'm going to invite them over, you know, have something to eat, have a bottle probably, and just sit around and chop it up. The same way we do when we're over there. So I enjoy doing that, man. It's cool. You know, sitting around talking to old heads and listening to them is always cool. And as I stated before, and I don't know if I finished, our generation understands the value of listening to the old heads. It's a good time if nothing else. And you can always learn something, whether it be through verbiage or by example, good or bad. So I look forward to doing that. I think those perspectives are interesting. And I had no idea, and I never considered the fact that Catholic school, at least in some places, was desegregated already. I had no idea. And when he said that, I was like, man, that's just something that never would have crossed my mind. As soon as he told me that, I was like, wow, because I just had no idea. So when he said that, I said, this perspective has to be completely different, or at least I'd imagine his perspective is a tad bit different, because going to school with white kids for him was normal. Now, I know he probably went to school with them and was, you know, treated a certain way at school, but I'm sure he had to deal with real life. And again, he obviously probably grew up in a decent area if he was going to private school. They had a couple of bucks. So, it's going to be a good conversation, I think, as far as different perspectives, whether it be societal level, because you hear a lot, it's not about black or white, it's about green. It appears his parents have some green. So, we'll see how close that is. And if it just lessens the experience, changes your perspective. But I think it's going to be interesting. And I look forward to talking to those cats. And I understand how life works now. So I'm going to do that sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later. So that's coming up. First thing I want to talk about. All right. So I'll tell you what, let me do a quick check in the chat room. Where we at? Okay. I'm still okay. Let's do this first. Let me go ahead and give you my first thoughts on Impact. And I realize this is delayed because I did not do the show on Monday like I intended. But once again, the title of today's show is Impact in the reference or in the framework of which I'm using it. Having a strong effect on someone or something. Having a strong effect on someone or something. Again, having an impact. Happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there listening and not listening, those that choose to listen now and or listen on demand. But thank you, not thank you, but happy Father's Day. Happy belated Father's Day to all of you since I did not do the show on Monday. Let me just say that. And as a matter of fact, let me, as I'm adjusting this volume and not even sure that's where I need to be. Let's make one more adjustment right here. All right, now we're show ready. Happy belated Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. And I hope during Father's Day, if you were looking on social media, I hope you didn't have to deal with any posts, not necessarily from women, but from men saying shout out to all the mothers that did both jobs. It's okay for ninjas to have one day. It's okay. Happy Father's Day to all of y'all with no disclaimers on it. And on the tail end of that, I'll speak about the impact that obviously a father can have on their kid's life. So when we speak about impact, passing, going through Father's Day, that's obviously something that you think about, life lessons, just the way you carry yourself. It's, your parents, you get a look at, okay, this is what a relationship looks like. Okay, this is how a husband and wife or a man and woman function together. This is a reference point for that. You're going to see that. That's going to be your original, that's going to be your reference point. You might have other reference points later on in life and, make adjustments, but your original reference point is your house, your home, what you see your parents do, what you see your father and your mother do. That's your original reference point, your family, whoever you hang around, your friends. It has an impact on you because behavioral patterns will be normalized to you if this is the way that these people act. So whatever your environment is, that's normalized to you because that's the environment that you're in. So a father's impact is huge. Again, coming off of Father's Day, to those that have lost their father, like myself, I know Griff has experienced this recently. Everybody that's lost a father, forgive me for anybody I don't name in particular. Again, it's a catch-22. It can be a little, because your memory's gonna, you're gonna get your memories. It's gonna jog your memory, and you're gonna think about them. But you have to look at it, as a positive thing that they were around, that they had an impact, that they had such an impact that you missed them enough to where you might be a little upset on that day. Or you think about them or whatever, but that's because they had an impact. And at the end of the day, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, as old heads would say, do as I say, not as I do, because I struggle with this. Remember the good times. Think about everything that y'all did. Find a positive way to honor them or whatever you're going to do on that day, whatever it may be. I usually sit back, kind of kick, I kind of kick back and do what me and Papa do. Just sit back and chill, things like that. In the future, I'm going to try to, maybe have, some type of get together or something, but find something to do, or do your best to focus on the good times and all the good shit, as opposed to the impact of the way the impact of losing them affects you. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no reason to rest on it. It doesn't help. It's better to just remember the good times. Best you can. Easy for me to say is 2025, 2017. No easier. But it's, as they say, better with time. But when it hits you, and deal with it, ride that wave, and keep it pushing, man. So I know it can be rough, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I say again, do as I say, not as I do. Look at this as a time to celebrate, as a time to, as opposed to a time to say, damn, another reminder. You know, as opposed to saying that, a time to remember somebody that had an impact on your life. You know, it's a good thing. Look at it like that. If you look at it in a positive manner, it can be that. So I'd say do that. But the impact that a father can have on everybody's life, you know, you learn how you treat a woman, how you conduct yourself. Okay, he keeps himself clean shaven. Okay, he wears his clothes like that. Okay, my papa always work out. I'm gonna work out. Okay, he eats like this. I think I'm gonna eat like that. Okay, he grills shit. I want to know how to grill. Those are nunchucks. I want to fuck with those. You know, you working on your car. What you doing? Can I help? They have an impact on you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just, that's a good way to deal with Father's Day. And of course, say the same thing anybody would say. If your pop's still around, man, enjoy that shit. Same way I understand I need to enjoy my mother being around. And if you spend too much time, you know, focusing on the negative, you can miss out on what's right in front of you. Again, do as I say, not as I do. But, you know, just try to focus on the good shit, man. But the great thing about that is just speaking about the impact the father can have on you is huge. And again, if they're not around, whatever father figure you may have, you know, whoever you look at for that, you know, whoever it may be, there's still an impact, even if they're not there. It might be negative, it might be positive. I know people that grew up with their father and they made decisions in life that led them down dark paths. Some that they've gotten out of, some they haven't. I know people that didn't have a father that have excelled. It affects people differently. Some people, you know, they're affected by it regardless, but some people, they just grind through it. And there are some that, I don't know another way to say it, you know, we use that as somewhat, I'll say, as a crutch, you know, when they don't necessarily do what they need to do. So there's an impact. And if you had a positive impact, just focus on that, man. Because it could have been different. It could have been different. So fathers have a huge impact. You know, personally, just how to conduct yourself as a man. That's, you know, you see that example. I remember they played softball one time. And ironically, playing a softball team from Arab. It was a team for the Arsenal. And the significance of that, again, talking about drive, I got to drive the car back. So when they go to the Arsenal, which was a good drive out. You know, you drove a little ways. The rest on Arsenal, huge thing. You know, that was the area, again, another area they stole from ninjas. I think they were like ninjas and white people kind of living in harmony or had an old community. They basically took the land, you know, like they always do. But I digress. Point being that you drive way back, way back into the damn, the depth of the Arsenal. Make a left, go across the bridge. It opens up. It's a dock where you boats and whatnot. It's a dock where you can bring your boat out. Multiple softball fields, basketball goal. Like a little restroom area, you know, and a couple of gazebos where you can barbecue and whatnot. So, you know, they'd always go out, play their games, you know, more than one game most of the time, 2 or 3 games, barbecue afterwards, kick it real good. So afterwards, once I was of age, he let me drive us home. That was my, you know, time to learn how to drive. And one major thing on the Arsenal, it was an Army base, so he was very animated about not speeding. But I, you know, essentially learned how to drive out there. Ford Fairlane. I think 50, it might have been a 57 Ford Fairlane. Learn how to drive in a Ford Fairlane, old school car. Point being that, you know, I got to drive the car home, you know what I'm saying, learn how to drive out there. But I remember they played a team from Arab one time. And they started acting like they were from Arab. I just don't know how else to put it. They started acting like they were from Arab.
You black, you live in America, you in trouble. I can't get you in no trouble.
So, you know, it started to bubble a little bit. Words started to get exchanged, you know, on the field. And, you know, they were good, too. They were whooping a lot of ass out there. My father didn't whoop a lot of ass. But it essentially bubbled up to where there was somewhat of an altercation. And my father was, I think, coaching third base. I'll never forget this shit. He was coaching third base. And he was having an altercation with somebody on the field. He was talking to somebody on the field. One of those guys from Arab on the field. And some woman in the stands was talking to him. She was saying something to him. And my pop looked at him and said, you ain't no better. He said, ma'am, you ain't no better than me. We the same. That woman said, nuh-uh, I'm from Arab. He said something to that effect. He said, you know, some woman, you ain't no better than me. We the same. Something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. That woman said, nuh-uh, I'm from Arab. I'll never forget that shit. Never forget that shit. So Pop's arguing with the dude on like third baseline. Some dude saying something to him, and he's talking to him, and all his boys and shit are starting to gather around. Everybody's starting to walk over there. I remember his friend Hen, called him Hen back then, because you know the way we were. I was there. My boy C. Leslie's sons were there, and maybe my brother. We all started to run over there. And his friends ran over there and Hen and put them hands on and say, "Now y'all chill out, we got it." They ran on over there. I'll never forget. Papa sitting there arguing with that motherfucker, going back and forth. He was talking to him, and there was this dude, there was a guy that was kind of behind them, but a little ways back that was starting to kind of walk up slowly. And Papa was talking to the dude in front of him, and he said, "Don't walk up on me." And then he never turned around. He took his hand and pointed back to the dude that was behind him. Never turning around. He said, "I'm talking to you. Don't walk up on me." And that motherfucker froze like they were playing red light, green light. But the impact that had on me, it just reminded me, you don't take no shit. You don't take no shit. You watch your back. I'll never forget that shit. I'll never forget that shit. And they were talking about that when they was over there grilling. That was the joke. That was the joke. That was a joke that he told dude not to walk up on him without looking at him. That was a joke for the rest of the night. But I'll never forget that shit. Them cats from A-Rab came all the way to the Arsenal to get into an argument. Don't get mad because you're getting stomped out. I do remember something else my pop said too. I do remember one thing he said to the dude. He said, "Man, it don't matter. We gonna whoop y'all ass anyway." That mean they had pissed him off. My pop didn't even talk like that. He wasn't even that type of cat. He didn't cuss around me for real. You know, he didn't cuss like that. It might come out every now and again, but just blatantly saying he wasn't that type of cat. So for him to say that, knowing I was right there, they had him in the zone. I do remember that. And he was talking about the game itself. He said, "Man, it don't matter." Because they were arguing about one play that happened, I think. Something like that. That was probably what happened. Something that happened on the field. They was arguing about that. And he said, "Man, it don't matter. We're about to whoop y'all ass anyway." And they did beat the hell out of them. They did beat the living hell out of them. That did happen. That did happen. But that shit was funny. But again, you know, parents have an impact to what they say, what they do, what they don't do. And that's a good thing. That can be a good thing and a bad thing, man. But, you know, remember the good times and all that good shit. But fathers have a huge impact, man. It's an example of how to be a man. And, you know, you can see the difference when somebody doesn't get that, or at least doesn't get some type of example of what that can be. You know, you get a cat that, I'm not going to do that. But bitch tendencies tend to happen. Lack of accountability, things of this nature. But, yeah. Father's impact is huge. This is the Underground Railroad Show, hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Thank you for coming aboard. Late Father's Day shout out to everybody, because I was supposed to do the show on Monday. Let me go ahead and introduce everybody. One more thing on impact before I give you some quick thoughts on the NBA. First man aboard the train, we got my man Sidney Jackson on the train, ears on while he's driving. Thank you for coming aboard, sir. We got Sluggo, the motherfucking hammer, on the train. Got you, sir. Yeah, I know I'm doing this on an odd day. People are moving around. It's all good. I plan to hit y'all with about two good hours. I got about 2 good hours worth of content, maybe 3. Not going to do a long show tonight on a Wednesday. We got my man Jungle Brother on the train. What up, Jungle? Judge Jungle, who's had me on the docket. Malicious prosecution. And I am countersuing because these claims are false. And he's wasting taxpayers' dollars and the people's time coming after your boy. But Judge Jungle is on the train as well. Thank you for coming aboard, sir. Sluggo said, if our parents and grandparents relied on mainstream media to inform them of the massacres, undoubtedly they were largely uninformed because they would never relay information that would cause us to riot. Yeah, let me say that again. If our parents and grandparents relied on mainstream media to inform them of the massacres, undoubtedly they were largely uninformed because they will never relay information that would cause us to riot. And that's a very... Because let me drop the bomb and then I'll comment. I got you, sir. I got you. I was attempting to get a guest on today, but not able to pull that off. So I'll give you my, what would I call it? I'll give you my limited NBA thoughts. because I have watched a little basketball. But I got the Kyle Sluggo, sir. And let me elaborate on what you just said. I've often thought about that, but again, they weren't informed either. And let me, before I continue with what you're saying, thank you for saying that. It reminded me of something. The other reason that I feel the need to make sure that I talk about these things, and again, have the interview with these gentlemen that I think, without even trying, I can see us having a nice hour-long conversation without even trying. A minimum of 30 minutes, but with three of them, I don't see how it won't go an hour with each of them answering the question that I'm going to ask and any elaborations that might, they say a couple of things and I ask, about a specific part of it and they all elaborate. I figure that's going to be an hour easy. But it lines up with what you're saying. One, I can't depend on, once I understood history and started looking into it, I realized that what we were taught was 100% bullshit, literally a lie. Not even possible historically. There's a reason they start teaching you history around 1492. There's a reason they kind of start around there and jump around and skip things. How the Moors are not a part of everybody's curriculum is fucking crazy. It's because because the system is designed to reflect and depict white supremacy. And we don't have anybody in higher positions that actually says something about that. But let me concentrate on the chat. Point being that it's important to hear the real story because we don't hear it. And I've often wrestled with why wasn't I told more about these types of things growing up? It's because they didn't know either. This has been a campaign to quell this type of information. And the other side of that is when these massacres happened that they called race riots so they could draw false equivalents, the same way they do now. Every time there is some type of egregious act towards a black person, there's always somebody white or an Anglophile that tries to draw false equivalents. But when those riots happened, if you listen to any of those documentaries, people didn't talk about it because that was the way it was put forward because of what they did and the way you witnessed it and the way nothing happened. It happened and then it wasn't even talked about or passed down or made sure that you knew so you would get pissed off and grow older and go back and get the motherfuckers. It wasn't talked about because that was the way it was enforced upon you through fear. That's another reason I refuse to mix words and make things palatable for people that should be extremely grateful and thankful that the only thing that ninjas are doing is talking. There should be a lot of gratitude for that. Because we see when they lose an election, they act like bitches. And even the ones that didn't do it support the ones that did or they're melancholy. Which means, again, the American tradition of white savagery is still well intact. Because when it occurred, it was supported. And even if it wasn't supported, it wasn't met with vitriol by most people that looked like the people that were up there. Point being is that I always wrestle with why wasn't I told more about these types of things because they didn't know either. They've been working on erasing it and talking around it for years. And now they're not even hiding and trying to be cute. They're saying we're going to get rid of it because our kids shouldn't feel bad having to hear the truth about their terrible fucking ancestors we paint as heroes. That was the reason. Shit's crazy. But point of being about all that, they were forced, through fear and whatnot, to not talk about it and speak on it, and really get ready to try to do some type of. We need to get these motherfuckers in one way or another. Maybe we can't get everybody, but some of them got to die. You can't do that, and then they needed to die after that. Otherwise, that type of behavior is encouraged. That's why these type of massacres happen all over the U.S. Because they said, okay, y'all are free, but all we're really doing is opening up killing sprees since y'all can't work anymore. Since we can't work you for free, we're going to bring in other people that look white and we'll treat them bad for half a second, but we're going to let them work. We're not going to let y'all work. We're not going to hire y'all at all. But we will take all your shit, treat you like a fifth-class citizen, murder you, and then erase it later because we'll be in charge of everything and we're going to cut you out of that. If we do let one of you in, they're going to be a bastardized version of us. But again, let's go back to the chat. But that is the reason why I don't make things palatable. I don't talk around it. I'm not going to say stupid shit like, what the hell did the congressional the Black Caucus say? Forced migration. They've always done that. And they're still doing it now, just under the guise of whatever the fucking rationale they have. But our representatives shouldn't give a flying fuck about that. They're supposed to represent us, not represent a stool pigeon that's trying to get along. But yeah, exactly. And you're right. That information will cause us to riot if we actually understood. But I don't know why that wasn't relayed, because we need to understand who we're dealing with. But again, they pushed that it wasn't positive to do that. But at any rate, Sluggo said, drink champs, Huntsville style. That's hysterical. That's hysterical. You must have heard me take a sip. This is actually tea, sir. But I do have tequila to the side. Coralejo Silver. Actually pretty good. Experimenting with a lot of tequilas lately. Sluggo said, how many black people could afford to send their kids to a private Catholic school during that time? He's definitely an anomaly. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, damn, dude, I didn't even know that. But yeah, I think he's an anomaly. He told me, man, he said, man, that wasn't a thing to me. It was nothing to me because I had been going to school with white kids since I was little. He said, I went to Catholic school. He said, I went to private school. He said, we've been segregated since the 60s. I said, what? I had no idea. But yeah, that was my thought. So I'm interested in his perspective. Because I'd imagine he had, at least, for lack of a better way to say it, whites that acted like decent human beings at school. I'm not going to say it was across the board, but it's possible that they acted decent, or at least more decent than most. And in your eyes, that could be deemed as, excellent or whatever. So when you have that going, you don't want to paint a broad brush. And sometimes, because we're such nice people, we hesitate to check others because we're thinking about the ones that are cool. But, you got to be you have to compartmentalize. But yeah, he's an anomaly, man. It's going to be an interesting perspective. We got my man G Money on the train. G Money the real. What's going on, sir? G Money said, my nephew couldn't see his children because his ex-wife is holding them hostage. And see, again, man, to his ex-wife. The system allows them to destroy a man if they want to. And unfortunately, a lot of them will do it. The system is essentially looking at black women and saying, I need a nigga. And unfortunately, some of them are more than happy to oblige. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. No matter what happens, no matter what the hell happens, the relationship with the kids cannot be compromised because you're hurting the kids for your own self-gratification. You're a horrible bitch, basically, is what I'm saying. You're hurting the kids for your own self-gratification. If this individual is not harming the children, and I'm quite sure he's not, and I shouldn't have even said that. I apologize for even saying that stupid shit. But I'm just saying that's the only situation where you don't allow a kid to see a father. If for some reason he's hurting the children, but because you're hurt, because you don't like him anymore, because you feel like you deserve a certain amount of money, and if you don't get it, you got to pay me, or otherwise you can't see your kids, dumb shit like that. Okay. The sad thing about it is that will be supported by a lot of low-level people. Because that's been facilitated in this country. It's perfectly okay. But, it's unfortunate if you can't work that out and keep the system out of it, or if you have somebody that will, unfortunately, that's the only way that they can hurt you. So they're going to do something along those lines, but not allowing you to see them is bullshit. They usually do other little things, just little stuff that you never liked. They, have them do that. Just that's the type of thing they'll do. But to not let you see them is fucked up. I mean, the other shit is fucked up too, but to not allow you to see them it's the reason why you can't paint everybody with a broad brush. Every woman's not a queen. And I don't know about the rest of her behavior, but in that moment, that act right there, I can't speak about anything else. I don't know anything about it, but that act, completely wrong and fucked up. That act. Might be a good person, but that act is fucked up.
with you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Sluggo said, I'll go out on a limb and say any hoes who attempt to fake credit for Father's Day is more than likely a piss poor mother. Once again, Sluggo said, I'll go out on a limb and say any hoe who attempts to take credit for Father's Day is more than likely a piss poor mother. And I'll agree to that to a degree. I'll agree to that. You should be too busy to try to hoard in on that particular day. And y'all know fathers don't get the type of attention that mothers get. I'm just saying by society. It has nothing to do with how your own kids or whoever treats you. But society itself, they don't go hard for Father's Day. They give you shit you got to work. Grilling, lawnmowers, tools. It's nothing relaxing. Motherfucker want to put you to work for your holiday. I'll co-sign that, Sluggo. G Money said, be careful. Women can be vindictive when the relationship ends. Very, very, very. You have to be careful. That's why it matters who you pick in the first place. Because a lot of them believe that if you hurt them, they got the right to do anything. And there's so many cake-ass niggas that are co-sign that shit that they never learn their lesson. And then later on, they'll join the church or some shit and you're supposed to forget about it. Okay. The last comment might not have been necessary.
What the hell did you just say?
But it's relevant.
Go to hell.
We have the aforementioned. No, maybe he didn't get mentioned. We have the podcast deserter, Light Skywalker on the train, a.k.a. the Angry Black Man. What's going on, sir? Thank you for coming aboard, man. Hope you are enjoying the ride thus far. Jungle Brother said, putting $25,000 pyramid on the auction block, sir. It's been 4 years since we've done one. You stopping me from feeding my family without that content, sir? Hey, sir, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's been 4 years since we've done one. But how long has it been since you requested that I do one with 334? Because you said you didn't want to do it. So hold on, Judge Jungle.
Confused, bewildered, lethargic.
Let the record show that when you asked about the pyramid, I said, why don't we do it? And you said, no, I want you to do it with 334. So in that instance, sir, when I did an entire pyramid skit at your request with the great 334 Bama, did I not fulfill doing a new pyramid that you chose to sit out? You weren't excluded. You weren't banned. You sat that one out, sir. Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute.
What? Nigga, please.
Putting the $25,000 pyramid on the auction block, sir. It's been 4 years since we've done one. You stopping me from feeding my family without that content, sir.
Hey, who raised you? Hey, who raised you? Hey, who raised you?
Sluggo said, even when I'm doing cows, I have to grab egregious stories from black sources because the same story in the mainstream print will largely be race neutral. And again, that's very important. They're in charge of the content, so they give you watered down bullshit. They give you a watered down version of the truth. Or, as we like to say, what is the term? Is it white-splain? They white-splain it. That's not the word I'm reaching for, but it's always in a biased and favorable light. It's obvious whoever writes it or talks about it has this mentality.
White man just a joy to be around.
It smell like lemon juice and Pledge furniture cleaner. White man just a joy to be around. It smell like lemon juice and Pledge furniture cleaner.
Yeah, but you can't get the truth from a source or from a publication, which I think, which the majority are of this ilk, but any publication ran by them, you're not going to get true content if we're talking about something that happened to us. They're always, even when one of those psychopath white kids shoot up a movie theater, the newspaper the next day has them in a tuxedo and says a math honors student and says some shit about mental illness, and then they kind of mention what he did. They've spoken worse about a black person being murdered by the police. He had weed in his system. Obviously, the officer had to shoot him 8 times. Moving on. But you can't expect to get any type of fair treatment or fair publication or truth from a white-based publication. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it. And what's happening is, because that isn't talked about, people are just accepting what they're doing, which is administering some form of self-hate if you're actually paying attention. But, you know, do you think? Extremely race neutral. But I got to drop a bomb for that because it's very important that you recognize and understand the source you're getting your information from. And too many things given to us by the mainstream, who's shown you through their actions, they don't give a damn about you, are taken as if it's the gospel. And I find that confusing. I'll never understand it. So it's very important. The source. Consider the source. Sluggo probably said this before I said what I said. I don't look ahead in the text. Sluggo said, don't forget the residents of Greenwood/Tulsa were made to forget what happened to them. That's what I was speaking about. That's why I refuse to that's why it really bothers me when ninjas are only loud about things that happen to other black people when a white publication puts it out. They ignore white dirt. You say nothing. Anything a ninja does, they put it out. Next thing I know, it's all over the internet. It's the most sheep ass sad shit I've ever seen. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Again, I just don't understand what they've done to get the benefit of the doubt or get anybody's trust. I'm just confused for that. But for me, if you've shown yourself to be untrustworthy, uninformed, just a liar, or a heinous person, or somebody commits heinous acts over and over again, you're going to have to give me a reason to believe what it is that you're saying. In other words, there's no reason for me to take you up on your word. You have to show me that you can be taken up on your word. But for me just to give you the benefit of a doubt when your view is always slanted, edited, or simply wrong, I just don't understand how it's strange to me. It's strange to me, but you know, it is what it is. Let me finish up with the chat. Sluggo said, I doubt they acted decently. It's just not in their nature. And again, no argument. I believe what I see, and what I see doesn't relate to the narrative that's put out there.
Amen, preacher.
G Money said, that's the truth. Ninja preach.
Amen, preacher.
Jungle Brother laughing at Light Skywalker. Sluggo said, if a woman has it in her to derail your relationship with your child, I doubt the rope stops there or the rot stops there. She's probably rotten to the core. Yeah, okay. If a woman has it in her to derail your relationship with your child, I doubt the rot stops there. She's probably rotten to the core. I'd agree, because that is some low down shit to do, because you're upset. But again,
Who raised you?
is what I'd say to them and what Sluggo was saying.
Who raised you?
Yeah, who did? Because number one, karma's going to get you back. But secondly, but again, that's an actual issue, though. There are a lot of women that actually believe that if you disappoint their expectations, they have the right to essentially act a fool. And not enough are told that that's not how it works. You can be upset with me. And the way you get a man back is you take you away. Your time, your give a fuck, your physical attributes, you take that away if you want to hurt this individual. If you really want to be fucked up, you can go knock down somebody he knows that you hate or he hates. You know, that's terrible too. That's wrong. But that's within your right. But the kids thing, wanting to derail them financially because they don't want to be with you, being just the worst type of person you can be just because you can, well, they're not going to hit me, so let me be the biggest bitch possible because I can do that. I'm mad. It's my right. There are too many women that think that that's actually normal. That's okay. You upset me, watch this. And because, for the most part, as men, we understand that we have to be accountable for our actions. We can't pull that and then play amnesia. And anybody that's been in a relationship knows what I'm talking about when I say that. If not, then your woman's close to you and you can't admit that you know what I'm saying. But it's okay.
A-E-I-O-U. You.
Oops. That ain't right.
Who raised you?
Jungle Butter says Sluggo bullseye, especially when you replace her with a chick that's an obvious upgrade over her. Sluggo saying facts, Jungle, to that. Can't lie. There are situations where that happens. Like if somebody's with somebody that's just not even a good person and they tried to make it work, like they're just not even, you know, everybody has disagreements, but somebody that doesn't really have good qualities. You know, people always look at you like, why you with them, man? They treat you like shit. You know what I'm saying? But when you finally see that, damn, it ain't me, this person just tripping. And you will get somebody that just treats you normal. And, you know, if you're dealing with abuse, when you get somebody that's decent or even great, that's just going to feel like, you know what I'm saying? It's going to feel like the world because you're so used to somebody that just is in a position to they're not happy for their own reasons. But you didn't realize they were the issue. You thought, I got to do something. They ain't happy. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do that. When it's that they're just not happy, man. Ain't got nothing to do with you. Old head told me a long time. No, they didn't. My best friend just mentioned this casually one day. We were talking about something. He said, I'm not responsible for making you happy. When speaking about being in a relationship, you got to do that on your own. If you're in a relationship with somebody else hoping they can make you happy, you're broken already. That's not going to work. That's not even their job. They can do things that are going to make you happy from their behavior, but it's not their job to keep you up. You're supposed to make yourself happy. And hopefully being with that individual enhances that, but that's not even a burden you can put on somebody. So you get away from that, and that, you know, that person's already was evil when you was with them. Yeah, they're going to be evil. Yeah, and they don't like that either. Hey, Jungle, though, I'll say this. If you downgrade or if you do something that is an obvious that doesn't match up to what you had, I think they may be even more upset. So you're right, but I think they may get just as upset or more upset if you just got with somebody when the whole world's like, fuck you doing? The hell you doing? So you leaving your family to be in a relationship with a crackhead? Or, you know, I'm being extreme, but when you're obviously not leveling up, I think they get more upset at that because they're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. They're going to be upset regardless, but that brings a different type of, what the fuck, nigga? That brings a different type. But I have to agree with you on some level as well. This is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Speaking about Impact, and again, this was supposed to be done on Monday, so I apologize for things that are somewhat not dated, but should have took place on Monday, so this could have made just not more sense, but been a tad bit more relevant or, you know, right on the day when I needed to speak about it. But spoke about Father's Day, the impact of a parent. Happy late born day to the great, two people I want to give a happy born day to. They had an impact in my life. The first, happy late born day to the great 334 Bama. To the great 334 Bama. Again, I've only met 334 one time at one of the TDSS events. Had a good time. That was one of the early ones. But knowing that individual has definitely impacted my life. I'm better for knowing that individual. Good man. A lot of great stories. And he's keeping me in the loop with what his son's doing right now, which is very impressive. I have every intention on going down to Tampa to watch him play this year. So once I get a schedule, I'll mark down a date and figure it out. Maybe chop it up with a couple other cats, see if they want to do it. But the young man's doing quite well, getting a lot of looks already. And he's got a lot. He's going to be better. He's going to get even better in these last couple of seasons. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that young man's just a junior. So he's going to get even better this year and next year. And he's going to get even more offers. And he's I'll let 334 elaborate, but he's doing quite well right now. I didn't know about the combine thing that they do in Florida, and something like that can help you out. So I didn't, but I was just tripping that they did a combine just like the NFL in the state. I'm like, yeah, it's different. Football's serious around this motherfucker. And I might be out the loop. They might do a combine nowadays. I'm very much out of the loop. They may do that nowadays, but not when I was coming up. So that's pretty cool. So I hope they get 334 on at one point to talk about that and other things, Alabama football. But big impact on my life, if nothing else, for giving us timeless and classic episodes and renditions and additions of Rolling with 334. Classic episodes, informative episodes, hilarious episodes, very telling episodes. I'm like, damn, I can't even believe you let us know that. But yeah, my man, hey, incredible stories, informative stories, hell of a perspective. Somebody that's been around the world, born and raised in Southern Alabama in the Gump. So the great 334 Bama, happy late born day to you, sir. And thank you for the impact that you've had on my life in a positive way. And I'm looking forward to. And again, let me give an apology. This is just me, not paying attention. Now, I did have something that was planned that day to do, but I still should have done this. When he came to the Classic and tailgated, common sense says I should have went down there. There was something I was scheduled to do with some family or something, or other people's family or whatever. But I still should have done that because of what it was and the time, and he was in the area. I should have done that. So I apologize for slipping that time. I should have went down there and kicked it with him that day. Birmingham's an easy-ass fucking drive, so I wasn't fucking thinking. But I do look forward to seeing him in Tampa and watching this youngin' play and looking at Florida high school football as well. I'm looking forward to seeing all of these things and, go out, have enough time, check the city out and whatnot before I head on back. But I'm looking forward to doing that and checking out the youngin' playing. But the great 334 having an impact on my life, just a good dude overall, and the huge impact he's had on myself and the show with these renditions of Rolling with 334. Good man. Hope you enjoyed your birthday, sir. The great 334 Bama. And I think, no, I didn't do this yet. Let me give him a bomb drop or another one if I hadn't already. The other born day I wanted to talk about that 334 shares is the great Tupac Shakur. One of my favorite rappers of all time, top 3 easy, but I had to stop and think about it. Probably my top overall, but top 3, hands down, not even close, but the great Tupac Shakur. And again, impact, musically, huge impact. Just his, after the fact, I can really look back. This man did all of that shit and didn't make it past 25. He did a lot of shit to be so damn young. And I hate the fact that we were all robbed of him growing older and all the things that he would have done. Can you imagine Tupac with social media? Can you see Tupac standing next to the NFL commissioner saying, we still talking about George Floyd? I can't.
What? Nigga, please.
what he would have been by now, because he was already wanting to do his own thing, what he would have been by now with the way you can put things out and what he would mean to all of these youngsters and whatnot, man, it would be crazy. You know, pie in the sky. But speaking of the great Tupac, two things. These are the two things I wanted to talk about. Obvious impact, just musically. What he did in movies, you know what I'm saying? And really learning who the man actually was and the things that he stood for that you could hear in his music. Two things I wanted to say about the great Tupac. One, these youngsters that you see on the internet. Couple of things that have been said by some of these youngsters. And, you know, and it's put out there, people ask the questions, and instead of it being checked, you have unskilled motherfuckers that couldn't hold that nigga's jockstrap talking about him. The first thing is when these youngsters call him an actor. I've seen a lot of young-ass, untalented rappers calling this man an actor, saying that he was fake. Let me say this. The vast majority of these rappers nowadays, none of you will speak up for anything. Even when it's obvious because you don't want it to hurt your sales or whatever deal you have going, your endorsements. You won't even speak up for black people being murdered by the police. First thing that you say is, not all cops are bad. Because you're worried about their feelings more than you're worried about their family to just watch their child, brother, or father, or cousin get murdered. You want to make sure you don't offend that certain section of the population. When Tupac was a established rapper and actor, if I'm not mistaken, he had done movies. He was a successful rapper. In Atlanta, when he saw one or two crackers, I'm going to call them that because of what they were doing, harassing and or attacking a black man, he got them off of him by putting bullets in them. What that tells me is he was for his people because he saw wrong being done and he acted. 99% of you bitch ass niggas, especially you fucking kids, talking about this man with no fucking talent. You having no talent talking about this legend. You won't even speak up for black people. When this ninja saw wrong going down, he physically did something, not thinking about or worrying about the consequences, which he got off for because he was in the right. They were off duty. They hadn't identified themselves. They didn't respond to verbal, the verbal, get the fuck off of him and whatnot. So he got them off of him. You can't tell me shit about that nigga because his actions tell me who the fuck he was. His actions tell me who the fuck he was. I don't see that from anybody else. The list is extremely small. You won't speak up on shit. You'll go to the White House and take a picture with the motherfucker. You'll go do that shit. You'll go do that and tell us to vote, but you yet and still you won't require anything. It's fine to do that, but require something. I guarantee you Tupac would intelligently talk about what I need from you as my representative in this system. If you're running on being black, if you're trying to use that, I went here, I did this, look at me. Okay, well, this is what I need you to do because you should feel the same way that I feel. I 100% believe he would have been somebody that would have done that. I can speak about a lot of other things, but that alone. Quit calling this man a fucking actor. Fake gangster and all this shit. How many so-called gangsters popped two fucking cops because they were fucking with a nigga and they didn't like it? Most of you would have laughed that off. Fuck him. Ha ha ha. Shouldn't have done nothing. That ain't my business. I've seen these bitch ass rappers laugh about other rappers being arrested over lyrics. You're acting like the motherfuckers that arrested them were right as opposed to them being fucked with because they are rappers and because they are black. What kind of bitch ass shit is that? So I don't want to hear anything from somebody that didn't have the integrity level that this man had Because when it came, he could have easily kept walking. He didn't have to give a fuck about that. He was already successful. He didn't do that. That shows me who the fuck he was. Miss me with that acting shit. Because you never mentioned that shit. What do you think he did that for? Fucking publicity? He did it because it was the right fucking thing to do. More of us should actually be like that. The second stupid ass thing that I've heard these young rappers say, and some rappers from his fucking generation, Pac wasn't a lyricist.
What? Nigga, please.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Who raised you?
Are you out of your motherfucking mind?
What? Nigga, please.
Not a lyricist?
What the hell did you just say? Help! Sick! Help!
Statements like that and some of the sports takes that I hear cause me to believe that people don't really listen. Like, what was Jay-Z's lyric? Motherfuckers say that I'm foolish to only talk about Jews. Do you fools listen to music, or do you just skim through it? Do y'all listen to this nigga? The people that say that, what the fuck are you talking about? Not a lyricist, huh? Didn't say anything lyrical, huh? Didn't say anything meaningful, huh? Really? So when they get my check, they taking tags out. So we paying for these pigs to knock the blacks out. Ain't they the bitch? Some officers are getting rich, beating up niggas and robbing drug dealers for their shit. Fuck you talking about? He talking about society. I'm paying the salary of a motherfucker that's terrorizing me. Portraying us as the bad people in the streets when they're the fucking worst. Life's a mess. Don't stress. Test. Or give them, but be thankful that you're living. Blessed. Stop complaining. You're alive. Keep it moving, nigga. Not a lyricist. It was one thing to hear young people say that. It was another thing to hear others co-sign that shit. Y'all niggas actually didn't listen to him, did you? You couldn't have. He spoke about how they always project everything that they do onto us. Lyrically, he could have easily done Mickey Mouse shit, but he spit fire lyrics telling the truth. Were there other things mixed in? Yeah, but he never stopped doing that. And even if you wanted to pretend like, even if you wanted to say that this particular album didn't feature that, what about the other 3 or 4? He has way more fucking content speaking about this country and speaking about what black people need to do than he does anything that would be considered ignorant. He's had a couple of songs where he said some shit. I'm like, okay, nigga. But that doesn't delete all the things that this man has said. The message I stress: don't be a chump, study your lessons, don't settle for less. Even a genius asks questions, be grateful for blessings. Don't ever change, keep your essence. The power is in the people, and politics we address. Always do your best. Don't make the pressure make you panic, and when you get stranded and things don't go the way you planned it, dreaming the riches. Not a lyricist. Politicians and hypocrites, they don't want to listen. If I'm insane, it's the fame made a brother change. Wasn't nothing like the game, it's just me against the world. He said a lot in that motherfucker, not a lyricist. I think you need to listen a tad bit hard. When I think back on Pac, what bothers me, because I know through the man's lyrics, I know the one thing he wanted was to be immortalized in pictures. He wanted to be remembered, and he did enough to be remembered. But I hate when people, when this man isn't here, will glance or skim at his shit, see an interview here, see some stupid statement there, and say in front of the entire world, somebody that paved the way for what the fuck you're doing was an actor, wasn't this, wasn't that. He was better than you'll ever fucking be. Now that's fucking incredible for me. For anybody in the industry saying that these young motherfuckers, these young untalented motherfuckers, speaking about that nigga, motherfucker, please. Not a lyricist. Out of your ever-loving fuck. I couldn't believe when a motherfucker said that shit. I remember when that stupid shit was trending. I don't know if it was a couple of years ago or so when somebody said that and that dumb shit actually had life to it and people kept co-signing that shit. You goofy motherfuckers. Do you know how many albums that motherfucker made? I digress. Happy late born day to the great 334 and the great Tupac Shakur. Calling him an actor, I deal with his actions. A man that got some damn racist motherfuckers off of a black man when he could have went on about his business as a successful individual. Most 1,000% of these bitch ass niggas now won't even speak on the bullshit that they do. He went into action. Miss me with being an actor. Secondly, miss me with him not being a lyricist. Go back and do your fucking homework.
You're right. It's fact.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
When I was coming up rough, that wasn't even what you called it. That's why I smoke blunts now and run with alcoholics. Some might listen to that and think that's an ignorant lyric. No, it's not. When I was coming up rough, that wasn't even what you called it. I grew up through dramatic shit. That's why I smoke blunts now and run with alcoholics. I watched that growing up. It's normal to me. It's not a big deal. If you grow up in a different environment, you're looking at that motherfucker like, man, what the hell are you doing? Where you learn how to roll weed? Why you drinking? We young. It's just. I could do that all fucking day, man, but that shit's wild to me. Y'all need to go back and do some homework. It's so disrespectful on somebody to pay the way for what you're doing, and it was a hell of a lot more impactful to you, and he only made it to 25. Gimmick ass, semi-talented artist talking about a motherfucking legend. That shit's crazy. This is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Look who's come aboard. Coming aboard the train with his traditional, usual. Good afternoon.
Motherfucker.
You got none other than JBJ on the train. What's going on, sir? Thank you for coming aboard, man. Hope you are enjoying the ride thus far. Great JBJ. Big time basketball fan, as are a lot of people in the chat. Sluggo is a huge football fan, also known as soccer. Took him a while to get there. As a matter of fact, Jungle Brother and Sluggo are huge soccer fans.
Hey, slow down. Watch your speed.
Huge soccer fans.
What? Nigga, please.
I get it though. It's definitely again, this country is in the minority. Most of the world loves soccer. I can't really get into it, but most of the world loves soccer. Now, I'll say this. If you see it in person, there's a difference. If you see it in person, there is a difference. I will say that. In person, you appreciate the skill set. I remember walking by when Baby Girl played soccer for 1 year. We walked by some older kids playing soccer, and I watched the motherfucker pass that ball across the field. That shit was on a rope. And the motherfucker he passed it to turned a backflip and kicked that shit in the corner of the net. Of course I appreciate that. That's hella athleticism. But it's hard to kind of get into you. If you watch that shit and really understand what they're doing, you'll appreciate it. But to see the way that ball moves when they pass it across that long ass field, there's some skill going on in that shit. People that do it at a high level. that casual backflip, kicking the ball perfectly into the corner of the motherfucker. I said, okay, that motherfucker's talented. That shit was incredible. JBJ said, Ninja doing the show after a 3-week hiatus. Whoa. That's not true. Ninja doing a show after a 3-week hiatus. That is not true, sir. Nothing about that is true.
He robbing us, you son of a bitch. He robbing us, you son of a bitch. He robbing us, you son of a bitch.
Now, I had a couple of days hiatus because I didn't do a show on Monday. And I gave a semi-explanation as to why. Cough button. My apologies. JBJ said, Ninja finally blessing us with a show after 3 weeks off.
Oh, sorry. That's not right.
Hell no.
I have not been gone for 3 weeks, sir. Where are you getting this from?
Oh, sorry. That's not right.
Hell no.
I did forget to repost my last show. My apologies. Let me go back and do that. I've been having a difficult time finding that show on YouTube. Like when I do it live, I'm not seeing the live feed. I don't know if I violated something on them, maybe a soundbite or something. I don't know. Maybe that Malcolm X clip. I don't know. Maybe I played something that fucked something up, but I haven't been necessarily able to even find my show. Now, when I get done, I think the replay will be there, but I haven't been able to find it live the last 2 or 3 shows. Not sure what the hell's up with that. Sluggo says, Super Coons like Jay-Z only gained prominence after the passing of the great Tupac. And I'm going to bomb drop that because that's the truth. Pac had a lock on shit, and if he would have got out and been able to do what he wanted to do, been ahead of the game, he would have been ahead of the game on all of this shit. And when social media hit and because he liked to knock things out. Once he would have had the ability to get, and I know this because I watch R&B Money, Fruity Loops, these are programs they use for music. But if he would have got a hold of those, a computer and being able to produce, mix, and all of that, he would have been doing that shit all himself. If he could have made all of his shit and not had to worry about paying the fees and the engineer and all that shit, maybe he would have had somebody on the computer being an engineer, but he would have really been, he cranked shit out when it was old school studio. With this ability now, man, he would have been cranking out. The ability to put out his music and not have to worry about having a record company if he didn't have his own by then, man, social media, being able to speak up, man, would love to have seen that. But yeah, preach, sir. Preach on the great Tupac. Sluggo said, apparently the C word will cause you to go to timeout. These sensitive ass chat rooms, man, are very upsetting. The sensitive chat rooms are very, very upsetting. Cough button. Let me give you this. Jungle Brother said, JBJ.
Who raised you? Who raised you?
JBJ said, Ninja is live in the middle of the week without an advance notice. Okay. You know what? That's fucked up. I'll give you that. I didn't let you know. I got to do better about that, man. I got to do better. If you care enough to say that, then I guess there's enough people to give a fuck for me to give you an advance warning. I just figure if I send it out in the same platforms, it'll be cool. But I get it. On that particular day, you might be busy. Maybe you need to, move some things around. I get it. I got you, sir. My apologies. I reposted last show, and I will be more diligent about using social media to inform you when I'm not able to do my show in my regular slot. I have to do better about that. I need to do better about that. I will say that. So in that sense, I am tripping. I got you, Sluggo. Got you, sir. Jungle Brother said, when Ryan's older short brother, wow. When Ryan's older short brother said Tupac was an actor and not one of the best all time, I really started to believe Puff sicked the Punisher on him or fried his brain. I wasn't going to mention that. I was just talking about these kids. I think a lot of that comes from people reading things and just repeating it. A lot of people are just, that's just kind of what they do. Okay, this is the trend. I'm on the trend. But, I heard him say some of that, but I couldn't make it. I didn't hear the other part because when they started in on that or started with that narrative, I just left. Again, okay, I'm dealing with actions. And I know that probably 100% of the people talking about him wouldn't have done what he did when those motherfuckers were fucking with that nigga. When he was watching a brother get jumped on, he didn't stand for it. He did something. Most of the people talking shit about him would have gladly walked away and been proud and smiling about it. You know what? No, as a matter of fact, you know what they would have done? They would have pulled out their phone and started recording and shaking their head, smiling and shit, seeing how many likes they could get. And you talking about this man? Man, okay. That's not even something I can take seriously. I can't even take that seriously. I just think people forget that. Maybe they get on the internet and start believing basic things. Short memory. Maybe they don't remember that because it didn't get talked about because they don't like to promote things like that. And he got off legally in court. It's just I don't know. I just disagree. It's just amazing after the fact that you reduce his shit to that. It puts me in the mind frame of when after X amount of media influence, you had ninjas speaking negatively about Colin Kaepernick. But the same type of ninja that doesn't have half of his heart and would never have considered standing up for black people when they were in that position. They would have never considered it. It's just people like that, people might think I'm overthinking it, but I really look at people like that really funny. That motherfucker, a person like that, man, you just keep your goddamn distance. That's some weird shit. I would think if you don't have the heart or the fortitude to stand up for things, you will be grateful for people that did. Instead, you watch TV and say, okay, they're saying this, so I believe that because they're my God. And that's how I look at it. That's probably why I talk about people that always go with the mainstream narrative. It's just that if that's always your reference point, on some level, you admire that. You look up to that. You want to be that. And that's just not where I'm at. Like, I literally support what your enemy opposes, oppose what your enemy supports. There's nothing that they do that causes me to give them any level of respect. And I mean any. There's a group of people that it's just whatever with them cats, man. It's just. And this is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. And I have some thoughts on the NBA. I think I watched games 2 and 3. But I have some thoughts, and most of them reflect or revolve around game 3. Just an observation that something that I observed when I was watching the game. And again, I can appreciate, I don't know what some are calling them, letting them play and whatnot. But again, that statement in itself is crazy to me. It's just basketball. Just get out the game and let them play. It's very simple. It's not that difficult. It's really not hard to do. It's really not. But I have noticed some games and seen some games where you don't get automatic whistle blows every time somebody hits the ground or jumps their ass on the ground or whatever. You don't get the automatic whistle for people jumping on the ground or people falling or people blocking the shot. Because when you're always blowing whistles for things like that, it discourages defense because they believe no matter what they do, you're going to blow the whistle. So it is nice to see that. You can actually see a game if you're not blowing the whistle on somebody every time they play defense, grab a rebound, every time somebody decides to fall on the ground. You know, if the whistle isn't blowing every time that happens, you know, you're in better shape. You're in much better shape. So I have noticed that, and that is definitely a better brand of basketball. Definitely a better brand of basketball. JBJ said Ninja's live in the middle of the week without an advance notice. Motherfuckers is selfish as fuck. Don't know where that's at, man. I went through everything. I should have that, just can't find it. I probably forgotten what I've actually labeled it. But Jungle, I didn't hear half of that. I heard some of it. JBJ said Pac is not a lyricist. Yeah, again, man, that was said on the internet.
Hell no.
Whoops. That's the wrong one. Let me fix that. And this is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, that Ninja.
What the hell did you just say? What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, I agree, sir.
What the hell did you just say?
Don't understand it, sir. But again, in some instances, you may just be
confused, bewildered, lethargic.
But I say again, Pac not a lyricist?
Who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that?
Right, JBJ, I want to know too.
Who told you that?
Sluggo said, let's just say I'm not counting down to the NFL or college football because football keeps me entertained. Okay, man. Listen, if you like it, I love it, man. I'm glad that round ball keeps you entertained. But again, there is a skill set involved. I'm not pretending like there's not skill involved and that it's not exciting. I know if I was to say that, it would be a misevaluation of the sport.
You blind motherfucker. Did you blind motherfucker?
Speaking of which, let me say this little side note. Because of the Fire Stick and the Eddie Murphy channel, I've been watching every time Harlem Nights comes on. I just stop and watch it. It's just one of those movies. Shame on you, the chat room, for voting Coming to America over Harlem Nights. Now, I'm not completely mad because before I was saying that Coming to America was my favorite Eddie Murphy movie, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. But no, I need my ass kicked. I'm a comedy guy. All of those comedians in Harlem Nights, it was a great fucking story. There were really good actors in it. Even the motherfuckers that played the mob people, they were good. Phil Cantone was good. Bugsy Calhoun was good at playing that role. Even the stereotypical mobsters chewing gum all hard, making that face and shit. You know what I'm saying? He was making fun of them. He had them all acting stereotypically Italian. Except for the mob boss, he kind of let him roll. Everybody else was stereotypically Italian. He did that shit on purpose. It was fucking hysterical, but it was a really good, well-written fucking story. Coming to America was great, too. It was excellent. I mean, you can't go wrong, but between the two, Harlem Nights, man. Harlem Nights. But Coming to America won in the tournament, probably because by the end of the tournament, a lot of people had fell off and there weren't enough people to vote. Coming to America won. I know when 334 saw that, he was like, what the hell? And I was like, you really can't be mad at that, man. But after watching that shit so many times and still noticing little small details, like when I'm trying to remember what they were talking about, but you could see Charlie Murphy in the back with his drink. Had a young lady sitting on his lap, kind of laying down with him. And Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, and Richard Pryor were going at it. It might have been when he was saying, "Oh, you want to mess with one of them Creole women? Mess around and get a rip put on you." What was that guy that got the root put on him? Did the girl dirty? Harvey Wilcox. Did this Creole girl dirty? Dick shrunk to the size of a cocktail weenie. And they can bury your drawers in the yard, and you can't leave the house neither. But it was either that scene or another scene where they was in there talking shit. And Charlie Murphy, if you look in the background, it was slightly blurred. He was back there cracking the fuck up because they was in there. It's just all kind of little shit. I always remind myself, even though I've seen the movie, watch it because you're going to notice something. You're going to notice something. I've seen Harlem Nights so many times, but that was the first time I noticed that he was just in the background. Kind of My apologies. This particular platform, I'm going to have to look into it. Okay, I'm still live, but I was just going and this thing just jumped off. And again, the level of internet I have, this shouldn't happen. This should not happen. I'm going to double check on that. I don't know if y'all could hear me during that dead time, but I am still live, so let me keep it moving. But again, I'm not going to argue either way, but for me, after I looked, and again, they're both great movies, but Harlem Nights has the edge. All of those comedians, I'm a comedy guy, and the story was excellent. The story was so well done as far as how it was written. The story was so well done. So just, going back on that tournament that, I don't think a lot of people were around to vote in towards the end. Give me Harlem Nights, man. Give me Harlem Nights as my favorite all-time Eddie Murphy movie. And again, going back on the Life thing, I agree it was an all-star cast, to a degree. Not to the level of Harlem Nights, but it was an all-star cast. I did not feel it was an all-star type of story. Casting, you can, draw some type of comparison to Harlem Nights if you want to, but there's no comparison because you had pioneers in the Harlem Nights cast. You had real pioneers. Red Fox alone trumps the Life cast by his damn self. By his damn self. But I mean, he had his uncle and his brother in that movie. He had the great, I need my ass kicked, Test Tube, baby. It's just there was too much going on in that movie. Della Reese, classic actress who killed that role. Della Reese left the pulpit because she couldn't turn down the opportunity to do that movie. She left the pulpit. Now, originally, Eddie Murphy wanted the light-skinned chick that played in Richard Pryor. Which Way? I think not. Was it Which Way Is Up? She played in a couple of his movies. Did I say Which Way Is Up? Is it Which Way Is Up? I'm trying to remember. She played in a couple of them. Was she in JoJo Dancer? But that's who Eddie wanted to play the Della Reese character, but she was into church and she didn't want to play that type of character. Della Reese had a church and she was preaching, but she could not turn down that opportunity. I like to watch, when the cast talk about the movie and all that. I always watch shit like that. I find it interesting. So I remember that shit. But yeah, Yeah, I got to give it to Harlem Nights. Just over recent years, going back and watching both of those movies and cracking up at both of them. And Coming to America is amazing, but I'm going to get a slight edge to Harlem Nights for me because of the cast and that damn storyline. It was so well written. There wasn't really too many points in there where you were like, man, come on. It was so well written. It was funny on top of it being a really good story. He just didn't make a straight goofball movie. He even had instances where he showed how he didn't give a fuck about the Italian mob and shit, how he wouldn't take it. There was so many little things in that movie that were great. But yeah, give me Harlem Nights over Coming to America, but that's not an insult to Coming to America. It's just that after I go back and think about that, I had Coming to America over Harlem Nights. I no longer do. JBJ said, Ninja, you remixed the hell out of that laughing sounder. It never gets old. Hey, man, the Great Light Skywalker, man. The Great Light Skywalker. Those are classic rants. Those are classic rants, and that's I got rid of my old sounder. My old sounder was classic. Nobody else really had one like that, but I had to replace it because everybody liked ABM better. But Ninja, you remixed the hell out of that laughing sounder. It never gets old.
God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work. God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
JBJ saying, Jungle, you ignorant. Let me make sure I'm not fucking this up again. Yes, we have the somewhat previously mentioned Reverend Raider for Life on the train. What's going on, Rev? What's going on, Raider for Life? Thank you for coming aboard, sir. Thank you for coming aboard. I have not started on your book yet. When I do, I'm going to sit down and read a good amount, and I'm going to give you a holler. I'll give you a holler. I haven't sat down and read past that first page yet. But when I get a second, I'm going to sit down and read it, man. I'm going to sit down and read it. We will discuss it. I haven't forgot about it. Thank you for sending me that book. Raider coming in saying, did I hear Ninja talk basketball? I'm about to, sir. I'm about to. Raider for Life says, Coming to America greater than Harlem Nights. I'm not going to argue with that. Coming to America is a great movie, and it's probably Harlem Nights Coming to America in that order. Harlem Nights Coming to America in that order. Just looking, yeah, in that order. Dude, that everything, the Sunshine, what she did to Richie, the scenes with Della Reese and Red Fox, the exchange between the Italians and Eddie Murphy and Ray and Quick, when fucking Phil Cantone came in and started fucking with him, man. Jack Jenkins, you're the champ. I love you. My kids love you. Everybody loves you. Champ, what are you doing here? You got a big fight tomorrow, man. You gonna be ready? I'll be fine. You be fine. I forget dude's name, but he a good actor. Dude was an asshole in that movie, but that shit was funny. Hey, Ray, can I talk to you back in the office? Hey, can Jack come? Jack. Dude was an asshole. Oh man, but they was just, yeah. I gotta get the edge to Harlem Nights. I gave it to Coming to America for years. I changed my mind on that. I'm giving the edge to Harlem Nights. Cast and story. Robin Harris. I need my ass kicked for it taking that long to remember that man's name. JBJ said, Ninja must have that dial up. You hear me talking to you, boy? No, man. I don't. I got this next step up just to make sure I didn't have any problems. So I don't know if it's StreamYard or what. But that little jump off was random as hell. And when I go back in and refresh it, the show's still going. But obviously y'all had a pause. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't understand, honestly. Because something like that has happened a few times, to be honest, and I really don't have an explanation as to why. So I'm going to run that, whatever that is, that test or whatever. I think there's some kind of test I can run to make sure my internet's running properly, but I honestly shouldn't be dealing with that. Shouldn't be dealing with that, and I honestly don't have a reason as to why it's happening. But it essentially just dropped. It just dropped. It just dropped. I don't know. Hopefully it's not. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't continue. Hopefully. Raider speaking to the ex-postal worker, Jungle. Jungle said, I thought my phone was tripping. No, that was me. Sidney Jackson saying, finally made it off the road. Jungle Brother said, Raider for life, most bomb drops in the heathen shows than everybody combined. I think Jungle's requesting something different. He said, watch your tone. That's not exactly what is being said. I'm almost certain he's requesting something in particular. It's not watch your tone, sir. It's not watch your tone. Close but no cigar. I believe what you're reaching for is slightly different. What you're actually doing, I think you're combining sound bites.
Hey, slow down. Watch your speed. Hey, slow down. Watch your speed.
Sid, and I didn't bring this up. I was just speaking about the young people that said it, but this is true. So you're accountable for your words. Sidney Jackson saying, Doug saying Tupac's an actor, but wanting a terrible Migos song, Bad and Bougie, to be the Falcons theme song is questionable. I'm glad those ninjas lost 28-3. Sorry to other Falcons fans for catching this undeserved stray.
Hey, slow down. Watch your speed.
Oh, I know that's what some of the Falcon fans are saying, but sir, that's hysterical. That's hysterical. Matter of fact, you can get a bomb drop. Dude, I still remember when he did that because that memory hasn't left my head either, Sidney. Some people might not remember, but that was an amazing thought at the time to me. Sipping Breathe Easy tea and tequila. But I still remember that. He was talking about the Falcons theme song. But he was talking about the Falcons theme song or something like that. Maybe it was because they changed uniforms. He was like, they need to do that too, something like that. So I got an idea for the Falcons theme song. I got an idea. He gave two of them. I can't remember the first one. But when he said it with so much intensity. And you got to remember too, I'm like, I don't keep my ear to the ground, so I wasn't aware of the Migos because I didn't listen to them. I didn't know the song. I didn't know. I guess I should have known, but I didn't know he was just saying the name of a song. I thought he was just saying something. I just thought that particular name was weird. I'm like, why would I don't understand that term. And then I think in the chat room they were like, that's a song that's out. And I was like, really? But yeah, but when he said it's like, I got, and the other one is Bad and Bougie. He said that with authority too. And I was so confused because I didn't know it was a Migos song. But even if I did, why? But that's one of those, they were I guess hot at the time, trending or whatever. So, that's probably had more to do with it than anything. But yeah, I thought that was a little weird. But I don't like the Migos music, so I would think it was weird. But then again, I don't necessarily just gravitate to something because that's what's hot or that's what's out. But again, like I don't go to publications to define how I feel about an MC because those publications don't have anything to do with us. And their metric of sales and what they consider to be popularity, what that basically boils down to is if they listen to it. That's not the measurement or the metric for me for who is a formidable rapper or a good rapper or a great lyricist. So that's not my reference point. But I mean, it is what it is. Sluggo saying, Rookie of the Year, Raider for Life, the free agent. Sydney said, people who say Tupac's not a lyricist probably think Silk be rapping on beat. And again,
Who raised you? Who raised you?
you really have to stop and take the time to listen to lyrics, go back, do your homework. All Eyes on Me was not his first album. I mean, this Machiavelli. I mean, just go back and just listen to some shit. You know what I'm saying? Just go back and listen to some things. That's all. I just don't know how you could listen to Strictly for My Niggas and say something like that. Or Tupacalypse Now. Or Me Against the World. Or Thug Life albums. Shit, any of them to be honest. Because he never had an album where he didn't do something along those lines. Jungle Brother says Sidney Jackson Bullseye. JBJ says Sal from Do the Right Thing. Yep, that is who it is. Sal from Do the Right Thing. You get your own restaurant. You can put up who you want. Sal's Pizza. Sal's Pizza. The way that all went down was interesting. Apologize for the pause. I am really tripping, man. I'm starting to just on that has to be some of this shit has to be a computer error. Some of it has to be. Certain things are just not where they should be. My apologies. That was a little personal moment right there. All good. It's all good. Sidney Jackson said, rappers nowadays carry purses and wear blouses. They're not going to speak on anything for black people. Preach on that. I mean, that hell, they wearing blouses and shit for popularity. Popularity regardless of how it comes. Preach, sir, preach. JBJ, once again, I thank you for finding things that aren't in place, and I will incorporate these things in time. Excuse me. Sal from Do the Right Thing.
Who are you, man? Who are you, man? Who are you, man?
I honestly can't hear that. I'm not even sure what that is. I thought that was one thing. It's probably something else. Boy, I miss my old soundboard. We got the aforementioned 334 Bam on the train. What's going on, sir? Gave you a belated shout out, sir, just speaking about the impact you've had on the show and myself, along with the great Tupac. Speaking about how he's been called an actor by some of these young, untalented rappers, and the trend a year or so ago that was going around about him not being a lyricist. So I staunchly disagree on those two things. JBJ says, Sid Jack, stop before I wake these kids. Jungle saying, that's it, watch your speed. Yes, sir, I got you. I got you. I knew what you meant. Jungle Butter said, 334, who should I be mad at? You for not having time for rolling with 334 or that ninja for not inviting you? Roll motherfucking Tide. Raider says, so the Falcons are rolling out Young Thug and Little Uzi Vert in a Falcon skirt. What are you talking about, sir? Is that real? You cracking a joke? Again, I don't keep my ear to the ground on some things. Are you actually being serious? Are you being facetious? Are you serious? Clarify on that, sir. Clarify on that. All right, the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals. Have been competitive. Have been pretty good. Now, I won't get into the obvious things. I always talk about how the media does the sport a disservice. Oh, thank you. Just making sure. Just making sure. Speaking about that earlier, I just didn't realize that was a Migos song at the time. I was just confused as to why that would be a viable option. I was just confused as to why that would be viable. I was like, why would those two terms be viable? I'm so confused. But, it is what it is. Didn't realize it was a popular song at the time. But again, I'm not a popular. There can be popular people or groups, but if I don't like it on a personal level, I could care less. I don't feel the need to like something because it's popular. Like, oh, it's number one on this, then I have to give it a. No, I really don't. I'll give it a chance, but if there's nothing there, then there's nothing there. I don't feel the reason to try to. This must be good. Let me find a way to say this is good because it's ranked real high. It must be good. So I'm good. Either the shit's good, good work, or it's not. I'm a lyric person. I like certain types of beats. And I'll admit that if you incorporate any form of auto-tune, it makes it hard for me to appreciate what you're doing. You might be saying some extremely slick shit. You might have good lyrics, but if you're singing with that shit or rapping with that, it makes it hard for me to appreciate what it is you're doing. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. What makes you stand out for me in rap is that, number one, your voice is your voice, but it's what you're saying, speaking about yourself, your experiences, or at least being able to speak about life or some type of subject matter in a slick way. If you can't do that, you're not going to be appealing to me. As a singer, I want to listen to you because you have a voice. You have a voice, God-given, whatever phrase you want to use. You have a God-given talent, a God-given voice that is unique to you. There may be some people that sound like you, but that's your voice. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear something on your voice that makes you sound like 87 other people. If you can actually sing, I want to hear you. I'm not concerned with people that can't sing. Maybe they're great writers, but they want to be the singer, so they just, they find a way to come out, so they put something on their voice to make it tolerable. I mean, it's just not for me. Just not for me. Your voice is what makes it worthwhile to me. Anita Baker has a voice, has a sound. Aretha Franklin has a sound. When KC's singing, I know it's KC. When it's Joe, I know it's Joe. Who has one of the more distinct? There's some people that have very distinct voices. Like there's no, as soon as they start, Keith Sweat. You're not confused if Keith Sweat is singing. That's Keith Sweat. Jasmine Sullivan. Aretha Franklin, if we're going old school. If it's, as soon as you hear it, oh, that's Aretha. She has a certain voice, a certain sound. Nowadays, they would take that type of voice and put some fucking auto-tune on it. I can that's why I kind of appreciate Bruno Mars them. I've never heard them, I'm sure they might have some, but I've never heard them do auto-tune. Maybe there's something like that on their albums, but they do music. Kind of an old school type of form. They do music. I can appreciate that. And half of these people doing that shit actually can sing. That's the other frustrating thing about it. October London can sing like a motherfucker. I just like people with voices, man. I'm not big on auto-tune and shit. If you're using something to enhance your voice, what's the point of me listening to you? I don't see the point. Sluggo said, Falcon skirt, wow. Is it true, Raider? No, Raider said he's unserious about that. Thank you, 334. That's perfect. Jeffrey Osborne has a very distinct voice. I'll spare y'all fucking up his lyrics. But when he sings Love Ballad, any damn thing. But when he sings Love Ballad, Holding On, what is the title of that song? You're just like peaches and cream. I don't know the name of that one. But all that Wings of Love, he has a very distinct voice. Like, that's what I like about it. If you're using a machine to fix your broken voice, why am I listening? There are too many people in the world that can actually sing to listen to somebody manufacturing a voice. It's just, I'm good. I'm good on that. And it's just, that became so popular at one point. It's getting back to real singing. It's getting back to it. But that entire period where people weren't concerned about you actually having a real voice was crazy to me. Seeing people perform on award shows and they're lip syncing, man, what the hell are you doing? If it's your job to sing, why are you lip syncing? That's fucking crazy to me. There was a time when rappers were lip syncing. I had no respect for that shit. There were several rappers that were lip syncing on award shows. Come on, man. That's the most late. That's the reason why I couldn't really give Nicki Minaj credit when she was really popular. I never saw her perform live. Every time she performed, she was lip syncing. I never saw her spit. I've heard her spit some shit where I was like, that was kind of slick. But I've never seen her do it live. Like, can you really spit this out with somebody that was, do you got to dap tape it and, do so much, stop, go back, do it again? Are you doing that? Because I've never seen her spit like anything that I thought was fire. She'll do that slow pace shit. I've never seen her spit for real live. She's always lip syncing. I can't respect a rapper or a singer lip syncing all the damn time. That shit's crazy. But yeah, great one. That's a really good one, 334. Jeffrey Osborne. There's no mistaking you're listening to Jeffrey Osborne, unless for half a second you mistake James Ingram for Jeffrey Osborne, but they don't sound the same. James Ingram, to a degree, has a certain sound. I'm leaving out a lot. James Brown, obviously, when you hear James Brown, he's singing. And again, James Brown is an underrated singer because he dances, so he could actually sing. Go back and listen to Try Me. Listen to shit like Try Me. That's a real, he's singing. They mentioned that on R&B Money Podcast, but I was listening to that shit way before that show. I had a whole James Brown tape. I played that shit all the damn time. I've always loved old music. Like, really, I know a lot of people love it, but I would when there's recent shit going on, I'll still go back and play old shit. And my parents used to look at me, not funny, but they're like, why are you listening to? Because I just love listening to old shit. I'd be playing the hell out of the old records and shit, just playing them. And not, I still listen to my rap. I loved it, but I played the hell out of them old cuts. Does that shit always vibe with me? As soon as I heard all that shit, I'm like, that shit fire. So it's disappointing to see a younger generation that doesn't know or isn't up on good music. Or, hopefully they know about 90s R&B. If they can't at least respect 90s R&B, good God. But really, they should still know the Anita Bakers, the Luther Vandross, the 80s R&B. They should still know OJs, Teddy Pendergrass. They should still know the Marvin Gaye. They should still know Aretha Franklin. They should still know all of that because they'd understand where what they're listening to came from. And they would hold them to a certain standard if they heard that fucking music. They were like, man, you can't sell me this bullshit. These people back then that didn't even have half that technology and had to sing everything from top to bottom are kicking your ass. You got to do better than this. That's a really good one. The great Jeffrey Osborne. Jungle Brother said, the NBA should be embarrassed to have OKC as their champion. No dogs I can see dominating at the Rucker on that team. Dr. J turning over in his grave. They're struggling. Jungle Brother?
Oh, sorry. That's not right.
Hell no.
Oh, sorry. That's not right.
Hell no.
Can't co-sign that one, sir. Whoever makes it, and playing good ball is playing good ball. Now, have I seen, a certain individual pushing off like a motherfucker and they're not calling it? Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. But, as far as like the brand of basketball that's being played, the game quality of the games, that's been cool. I don't give any credence to certain teams and certain, like when people say the league is better when this team is relevant, I don't co-sign that shit at all. That's just more bullshit from the lazy ass media that wants to write about certain markets. The game takes care of itself. Whoever the fuck is winning, they're winning. Write about it. If you actually love the game, that's the problem. These motherfuckers just have a job. I don't think they really love the game because they couldn't cover it the way that they do if they did. They're just doing a job, but they don't love the game. But I think whoever makes it, whoever's playing ball, that team should be given credit. Whoever that team is, when they're playing, it's good basketball. I've just never, for me personally, I don't care about that. And it's probably because, I went to a black high school, so that we never got credit from the media. Every team we were going to play, we were always going to lose. And when we beat them, they always used slick words. They squeaked by. Shocker. Shocker. Johnson beat such and such. Oh, squeaks by. Oh, what a surprise. Every time we beat these highly ranked teams and shut down their highly ranked players, it was always little suggestive bullshit from, again, the Huntsville Times and their media, who went to the white schools. So when we beat them, they weren't really there wasn't a lot of praise. It was always very apprehensive credit. And they gave those other teams so much credit. Just looking back on it, it was always so biased. Always biased. So for that reason, that's probably really part of the root of the way I am about the media, because I saw going to the school that I went, every time we did anything, they always worded it funny. Because our school and the look of our school didn't appeal to the local newspaper. And even the alumni, when they went to our school, it didn't look like that. So it was always covered a certain way. That's probably why I just don't read an article and just, it's on here, it must be true. I know better because I lived enough life. It is what it is. Let me keep it pushing. I went on a little sidetrack. Raider saying, jokes, Sluggo, like to take your trap backup quarterback. Raider said, it's a great matchup. OKC would lock up anybody on the Rucker court with their defense, Jungle. Jungle said, saying unserious is like saying unhand me. LOL. That's kind of funny, actually. That's actually kind of funny. Oh, shit. That's actually kind of funny, sir. Jungle said, saying unserious is like saying, unhand me.
Hey, who raised you? Hey, who raised you?
Jungle said, at Raider, Chet Holmgren wouldn't get off the bench at the Rucker. Sydney said, I saw on Instagram someone said Anita Baker, when slowed down, sounds like Michael McDonald. I call bullshit. When they did it, and she sounded like Michael McDonald. Hey, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. The only reason, again, shout out to the R&B Money Podcast. That's the only reason I kind of know about that. I heard Anita Baker. I watched her in the interview, and she said that a lot of people compared her voice to Michael McDonald. And it was either her saying that or somebody else talking about that. And when they said it, I said, okay, slightly, but not really. But I see where they're coming from. Because his tone is completely different. But if you slow it down, if you actually slow her down, that's going to change her tone to sound a little bit more like dude. Because I play a lot of old music. So I've been listening to, which I never really stopped. But I listened to Anita Baker. I listened to Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers. Jungle was playing the group that Anita was with before they told her she couldn't sing. And she got fired from the group. I forget the name of the group, but Jungle was playing them. In one of the greatest music things, he was playing Anita Baker music when she was in that group. You know what I'm saying? But if you slow it down, it probably sounds extremely similar because that slowing it down would bring her tone, would put her tone a little bit closer to Michael McDonald. But that's hysterical. I know. I believe you, sir. I believe you. JBJ said, lip syncing on an award show. You know what? I agree, sir. It's complete and total bullshit. Lip syncing on an award show, and there was a time when that became normal. There was a time when that became the norm. When I just looked up, that's really when I kind of got away from award shows. I'm like, when did it become acceptable for people to lip sync at an award show? I remember now. It was back in the day because now I was talking to my little cousin who are now old enough for me to kick it with. I can't really call them little cousins, but it was around the time that the people that they were into, were doing the awards. So their people were performing and they were lip syncing. Around the time Nicki Minaj was lip syncing and all them people, I said, first and foremost, they're not showing the real singers. Like, again, I'll say this again with BET. At one point, they started going with internet bullshit and the show has been terrible since. Now, last year, this past one, I thought it was a good show. I thought they did a pretty good job. Of course, you're going to have some spots here and there, but I thought the black tie dress code was a good thing. And what they did for Jamie Foxx was an actual tribute as opposed to the disrespectful, horrible bullshit, agenda-driven, women power, agenda-driven, unacceptable tribute they gave to Usher. One of the greatest singers and performers of our time, and you shitted on him with that performance or that tribute. You had popular people in there that aren't even in the R&B world. Keke Palmer, it was cute, but not on a tribute. Lotto, okay, I like looking at her ass too, but why is she up there doing an Usher tribute? That was such a horribly done BET Awards that was designed to tell you to vote and to show nothing but women, because I don't think one man performed. But let me get off of that. Point being that when they started going with popular shit and like the real singers would not get shown, they would be singing before the show, or they'd sing and then show them do half a verse and they go to commercial. But I got to watch the entire show of some untalented young person lip sync. But real singers are singing and y'all are going to commercial. When they started doing that, everybody in charge, y'all were some dumb motherfuckers. Fuck real singers. I'm going with these popular kids that are coming to an award show when they can't even perform. But at the time, I remember saying they're lip syncing. And something was said to the point where, everybody doesn't perform like that, or you don't, something like that. And I'm like, I said, cuz, you got to stop and think about this. They do this for a living. It's not okay to not perform. I said, for example, what she's doing is lip syncing and doing a dance routine. My cousin's a dancer, like a real dancer. I said, how long would it take all of them dance? I said, how long would it take y'all? I said, if I gave y'all 1 day, basically what I told them is, if I gave y'all 1 day, you could do the same thing. She said, it wouldn't take a day. I just need a couple hours. I said, that's my point. They do this for a living, so how dare they come and give you a half-ass performance? You can lip sync and dance. That's a lack of effort. That's a lack of effort. But there was a time when that became popular. And I'll tell you what, the first show, when they let Soulja Boy close the BET Awards, that's when I realized that's when it started going down. After that, it was all about internet shit, which completely fucked up everything. But, at any rate, in my opinion. Where we at here? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish that chat. Lip syncing on an award show.
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
Very brittle.
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
Sidney Jackson said Chet Holmgren weigh 110 pounds and nobody posting him up. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, I'll give my basketball take in 1 second. It doesn't make sense.
You hear you? I hear you.
Raider said the first time I saw Nicki Minaj was on a BET Awards show, and if she was lip syncing, she was word for word with it. She was spitting. Nah, bro. Please show me the. But Raider, no offense, but you said that Jokic has all the tools and everything. Yeah, he has a lot of tools. The tools to push people away. Show me what she was spitting. You might have thought she was word for word. I'm serious. Like, especially on BET, she was never live. I saw her do a whole routine where she got on stage and jerked her head around with her dancers and shit, but she was not singing. She wasn't even attempting to lip sync, honestly. It didn't even match up. Half the time, she wasn't even bothering to mouth the shit. I saw Lil Wayne do that shit. Lil Wayne did that before on BET or a Hip Hop Awards or something. He was up there lip syncing. Raider, please let me know if you remember what year so I can look it up on YouTube. I've never seen her actually spit. Like one of those real verses, not that slow singy bullshit. Like a verse on Monster or, well, these songs. There's a song called High School she did with Wayne. There's a verse on a song called Monster with Kanye West and Jay-Z. I've never seen her spit like a fast-paced verse, you know what I'm saying, in person. I've never seen that. Please let me, if you remember, let me know which one that was, because I've literally never seen her really perform. And the one time I did, it was some kind of little very slow ass shit, but I've never seen her actually just spit out her lyrics. Not without a backup track. Or really, it wasn't even a backup track because the backup track was doing all the rapping. So no, she was lip syncing. It wasn't even a backup track. Jungle Brother telling Sidney Jackson exactly. Sidney Jackson said, Bobby Blue Bland, there's no mistaking his voice. That's another one. Red. You know what? That's another one.
You hear you? I hear you.
Raider for Life said Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins, there's no mistaking his voice.
You hear you? I hear you.
Shit, Al Green. Al Green, no mistaking. If you hear Al Green, it's Al Green. Marvin Gaye. I've never been confused about Marvin's voice. Marvin Gaye, very distinctive. Teddy Pendergrass, very distinctive. Shit, Lenny Williams, distinctive voice. I'll tell you somebody else who has a very distinctive voice if you ask me. And there may be something similar. Well, Donny Hathaway. There's nobody really sounds like him to me. And my man, 1 second, I'll give you his name. Bad man, on maybe the baddest bass guitarist ever. I saw him in concert with Prince. He opened up for Prince. Larry Graham. Larry Graham has a very distinctive voice. Larry Graham. The great Larry Graham. 1 in a million. Jungle Brother said the league is 20 times better with the Knicks winning back-to-back Eastern Conference titles in the 90s. A feat that hasn't been duplicated since. Again, Jungle Brother, I can't co-sign that. Basketball is basketball to me. I don't care about the team and the market. To me, that's just a media creation. And of course, you're going to go with that because you're a New Yorker.
That's a lie! That's a goddamn lie!
But I staunchly disagree. And you know, y'all were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and concerning the Knicks.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
Jungle Brother said, Chapter 8. That was the name of the group. Yep, Chapter 8. Raider for Life said, Ninja listening to the Doobie Brothers a little minute by minute. Minute by minute by minute by. I keep holding on. Hey, that shit fire, man. Doobie Brothers got some fire. And Homie can sing, you know what I'm saying? Homie got a good voice. But they got some shit taking it to the streets minute by minute. Yeah, Doobie Brothers got some fire for you now. Doobie Brothers got some fire for you. There were a lot of Caucasians back then that had some good cuts. I mean, shit, I forget the name. What You Want to Do for Love? That's a Caucasian fellow. Again, an R&B Money podcast fact. I think this is from R&B Money. It might be from the other podcast I've been listening to while Tank is on Broadway. And R&B Money podcast has been on hiatus for a little bit. Let me make sure. Was this R&B Money or that? It might have been this other podcast, which I'm not going to say right now because I'm still trying to feel them out. I don't know if I want to promote them yet. But that dude wrote that song for Earth, Wind, and Fire. What you want to do for love. That was written for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I can hear that shit all day long. That sounds like an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Bum, 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 da, da, da. Do, 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 do. That sounds like Earth, Wind, and Fire. I can see Earth, Wind, and Fire singing that all day long. But he wrote that for them. They didn't want it, so he kept it. Yeah, but there was some Bobby Caldwell. That's his name. Thank you. Bobby Caldwell. That's his name. Thank you, Raider. Sluggo said, Indiana blew its load in Game 4.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah, but back when talent was a necessary prerequisite to do music, you had a lot of good music coming out. And a lot of those Europeans that came out singing soul music, they didn't care about what was popular. They just liked good music. So they emulated black people because that's what they listened to. So, you know, that's where you got your Simply Reds and, you know what, I'm not going to get into all those people. Y'all going to look at me funny. But that's where you get all those cats from, singing covers of black people songs and shit. But that's where you get all that from because that's who they were listening to. Cough button. But I pop listen to a lot of music, man. Good music is good music. Good music is good music. There's a lot of things I listen to that aren't, you know, if you can sing, you can sing. It is what it is. Hell, truth be told, George Michael got a lot of cuts. Wham got cut, but pop listen to Wham. They listen to George Michael. They, you know what I'm saying? They listen to that. George Michael crossed over back in the day. So there's just a lot of cats that got some good music. Wham had a few cuts. Wham had some good cuts. George Michael had some fire ass cuts. I can't front. He had some fire ass songs. It seems like there's one cat I'm leaving out that did a lot music wise. And the other side of it is my brother listened to rock and roll growing up. So, and again, the combination of, you know, mainstream TV mainly played that. So you were always going to hear rock and roll shit because there weren't a lot of outlets for our music. And every movie you saw, for the most part, the soundtrack had whatever the popular song was on at the time. So my brother listened to rock and roll. So I heard a lot of that. All that, what's all the Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, all of that shit. My brother listened to all that shit growing up. All of that shit. So I heard that shit all the time. Raider for Life says, so basically what you're saying is you like Blue Eyed Soul. It depends who it was. It depends who it was. Probably everybody probably didn't get a pass, but Simply Red covering Teddy Pendergrass's song, that was decent. George Michael had some fire cuts. That's not even an argument. There was some others, but off the top of my head, I can't remember. But yeah, there was some people that did pretty good. There was some cats that did pretty good. That's some fire cuts. Let me give you my take on the NBA Finals right now, the singular take that I have. Not singular, but my observation. Not a really deep take or not a deep cut. As I spoke about, I haven't been watching the teams all year. I can't speak about the coach, the strategy, how the team has been doing all year, that they've improved, who the players are, who the key players are, who should be doing what. I haven't watched, so I can't speak about it in that capacity, but I can tell you what I observed watching the game. And this is the Underground Railroad Show, hosted by your boy, That Ninja. One second. Well, I don't have to stop as I refresh. But as I was watching Game 3, and I watched some of Game 4 as well, but this is mainly after Game 3 because, again, Game 4 was Monday night when I was going to do this show, and this show was from Monday. So in observing Game 3, this is what I walked away with. Outside of, I won't get into, who I thought might have pushed off and, what whistle I felt should have got blown at one point, just in the sense of basketball. At one point, I found myself frustrated because they just kept gunning three-pointers. There were about 5 or 6 possessions in a row where there was no ball movement, there was no inside out, there was no pick and roll, there was no pick and pop, there was nobody coming off of a screen. They weren't even setting up said three-pointer. They were just gunning threes with somebody in their face, fading away after not even attempting to run any type of play. And it was crazy for me to see that in the NBA. What is the purpose of having a coach if all you're going to do is come down, not move the ball, and jack up a three? I understand a heat check. I understand that being your shot and the person not getting close enough, and you may be telling them you might want to take a couple of steps up. You can't back off of me. But to not have some type of offensive set is crazy to me. I remember watching the Lakers move the fast breaks, man. Go back and watch, anybody, Magic Johnson, Isaiah, everybody back then, but the way that some of the fast breaks are getting ran, you're not even trying to run the fast break to get to the fucking hole. You're trying to set up for a fucking three-pointer. There was so much of that going on at one point in the game, it was becoming frustrating. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, as if a message was sent from a higher power.
That's why I know there's a God.
They started driving the ball, running sets, coming off of screens, pick and rolls, pick and pop, working the ball outside, double team, a collapse, kicking the ball out to the open man. They started playing basketball. And the quality of the game got so much better. What I observed is that when they're not jacking unsolicited three-pointers, I'm not talking about old school Detroit when Rip Hamilton would come off of the screen, catch and shoot. I'm not talking about Ray Allen catching and shooting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about not running the offense, dribbling, driving, stepping back, fading away, shooting a three-pointer. Nobody else has touched the ball. You haven't ran one set. That's ridiculous to do as a professional basketball player. Even when Jordan would clear people out and drive to the basket, if you were open, he would drop it off, whether it be a jump shot or somebody under the goal or somebody driving to the goal. For me, the best basketball in the finals played when they're playing basketball, not gunning threes, when they're running sets, when they're moving the ball, when they're coming off of screens, when they're shooting three-pointers that come off of action, coming off of a pick, coming right off a screen, catching the ball, shooting it. Somebody swinging the ball around the perimeter because the defense keeps rotating, and on that last pass, you get somebody with an open look, working it inside or driving and kicking it out. When 3-pointers were shot after that moment, it was in the rhythm of the game. And the overall quality of the game was better for it. At the end of the day, that's really all I want to see. You can shoot 3-pointers, but do it within the framework of some type of offense. Outside of just being on fire, like Vince Carter was in that finals against the Sixers, which is one of the greatest Eastern Conference finals ever. When Vince Carter was on fire one game and broke the 3-point record, and I believe Allen Iverson came back the very next game and did the same thing, got hot from 3 and fucked around. It was either Allen Iverson did it first and then Vince came behind him and broke the record he just set. But it went back to back. One of them went crazy behind the 3-point line. Then the other one did it the very next game. They had a nice battle, a great back and forth. With it ending with Vince Carter missing a jump shot where he hung in the air forever. Let the person trying to block it go up and fly away. He moved the ball out the way, brought it back, shot a jumper, went in and came out. Sixers go on to the finals. I probably thought that the Raptors were a more complete team, but Sixers had a hell of a season that year, and AI is AI. But unless you're on fire like Vince was that game, like Iverson was the next game, like Michael Jordan was in that game we all remember where after, I don't know, the 5th or 6th one, he ran past the scorer's table and shrugged his shoulders. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. Unless you have that going on, just get the 3-pointer within the framework of the offense. Your team is better for it, and the game is better for it. Both teams started playing better when they did that. And ironically, they both did it at the same time. So for me, man, the finals have been close. It's been competitive. Of course, there have been some things where I'm like, man, come on. But outside of that, just the basketball, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm enjoying it when they're playing good basketball. Not just dribbling, never going past the 3-point line and jacking up the ball. Getting a rebound, getting an offensive rebound, kick it. Now, if you get an offensive rebound and kick it out and you got an open look, okay, to a degree. But if you just got the, well, you know what, on an offensive rebound, if you kick it out and you get a second look and you just shot one, you should knock that down. But when you brick it and you just took a bad 3-pointer and you get another one and take another bad 3-pointer, man, work the ball around. You might shoot another 3, but you can do it in the framework of the offense when you're a little more comfortable and you have a higher percentage shot. But I just hated seeing all those low percentage 3-pointers. But when they both started running sets, running the offense, utilizing their teammates, the game got better all the way around. It was very enjoyable to watch. It was good basketball when they were doing that. When there were 5 or 6 possessions in a row where both teams just shot 3-pointers, where no type of ball movement was happening, I was that close to turning the fucking channel before they started actually playing basketball. So I've enjoyed it, but I think it's better, or in my opinion, it's better when they're actually running an offense, running sets, and playing basketball. The Kings used to run sets. The Lakers ran sets. Even the Bulls ran sets, as much as you want to call it one-on-one. Just watching some of this just lazy basketball and bad shots. Some of this has been hard to watch. But finals have been pretty good. Looking forward to this next game, seeing if Indiana can tie it up. But with Halliburton being apparently hobbled, I'm not sure about their chances. Although they had several opportunities where they made a nice comeback in that game. So they can obviously do it without Halliburton being at his best, obviously. It just has to happen on a day where Oklahoma is also not shooting the ball very well. So, I mean, anything can happen. So looking forward to that, and we'll see. I'm just hoping, regardless of the result, you know, who's going to win or whatever, I just hope I see good basketball, see some sets, see a little inside out. If you're shooting threes, hopefully it comes within the framework of the offense when you're running some type of set, as opposed to just randomly jacking them up with somebody in your face fading away. Hopefully I don't get any more of that, because the game was a lot better when I didn't get that. This is the Underground Railroad Show, hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Allow me to read these cows just about where I wanted to be. I want to do about a 2-3 hour show today. Let me get ready to read these cows. And again, my man Dexter sends me things on the show page. None of them are necessarily cows, but they're things I just probably need to discuss. So I'll be sure to acknowledge and bring those up on the next show. And it appears we have a lot of detail in that one. We have 3 cow awards, all coming from Sluggo. The cow award, once again, is the colonizer of the week. As I spoke about earlier, we have a lot of things that happen in our community and in this country that do not get covered because the people covering it have an inherent bias against us and for people to look like them. Therefore, the news cycle, the newspapers, the stories, and the editing reflects that. So when horrific things happen to Black people, they generally don't get covered, or they get covered in the wrong way, where there are misquotes and misinformation, because the truth is not the truth isn't something that makes the alleged heroes of the country look good. Let me be specific. The truth is something that doesn't make either a white police officer or a white citizen look good. Therefore, it is and I'm trying to remember the word. I'm going to have to get off of it. I've forgotten that word when they always, it's not that. What is that word that I'm reaching for? At any rate, they always find a way to justify actions depending on who did them. So because of the lack of coverage and the truth being told about situations that happen to us in this country, I felt the need to do the colonizer of the week because we'll never get it from the mainstream media. And initially, I was just going and finding these stories and putting them out myself. After a certain amount of time, all the passengers just started doing it, to the point where one day I said, you know what, man, I'm going to stop, because everything that I go get, y'all are grabbing too. So I'm just going to let y'all give me the Cow Award nominees from now on. This used to be something I did, but listeners started giving me awards. And we have one passenger in particular that kind of really digs in and gets the most egregious ones. But we still have people that participate in the Cow Awards. Dexter does it a lot on the Underground Railroad show page, but it's a video, so I need to do a better job of making sure I look at the video so I can speak about it in detail. First cow nomination. First cow nomination comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. Cow nomination to a colonizer by the name of Dalton Kaysen, who struck and killed a 7-year-old Black boy by the name of Logan Sharp as he was driving under the influence. A secondary cow to the Pierce County prosecutors, who were refusing to press significant charges, and a tertiary. Slow down. Well, after so many slips, tertiary. Why am I fucking up on such a simple word? Forgive me.
A-E-I-O-U. Use your vowels.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it? What the fuck is wrong with you?
You're on that bullshit today. I swear.
A secondary cow to the Pierce County prosecutors, who are refusing to press significant charges, and a tertiary cow to the responding state trooper, Chase Middleton, who apparently lied in his report to protect Carson. According to Atlanta Black Star, Dalton Carson, a 26-year-old white man, was under the influence of fentanyl and cocaine when he struck and killed a 7-year-old Black boy named Logan Sharp last year in Georgia, according to a toxicology report from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. But Pierce County prosecutors have refused to charge him with vehicular homicide, which would be the appropriate charge under state law, because he was driving while under the influence of drugs, according to a Georgia criminal defense attorney. And it was only after the boy's family began talking about the case on social media that Kaysen was even charged with a misdemeanor driving under the influence, 9 months after the deadly incident and 3 months after the results were finalized. Quote, it's a slap in our face, because they have the evidence and everything they need to charge Dalton with vehicular homicide. But they won't do it, said Logan's mother, Shantae Sharp, in one of several interviews conducted by Atlanta Black Star to compile this exclusive report. Quote, like my son's life didn't matter. It also appears that Georgia State Trooper who responded to the scene lied in his report to protect Kaysen, twisting the words of an eyewitness who later provided a signed statement contradicting what the deputy had attributed to him in his report. Georgia State Trooper Chase Middleton claimed the 81-year-old black man who was sitting on his front porch when the truck struck the boy had told him the boy was standing in the street when he was killed in an apparent effort to blame the child for his own death. But the black man wrote a signed witness statement saying he had told the cop that Sharp had been walking on the sidewalk when he struck so hard that his body flew in the air and landed in the street, indicating that Kaysen had driven up on the sidewalk when he struck the child. Another witness who showed up after the crash wrote a witness statement saying that Logan's older brother, Keeson, was very distraught, repeatedly saying that the truck had driven on the sidewalk. He came on the sidewalk and hit my brother. He came on the sidewalk and hit my brother. She quoted him as saying in her signed statement. And another witness signed a statement saying she overheard the black man telling the cop the child was on the sidewalk prior to being struck by Kaysen. But Middleton, whose wife is Facebook friends with Kaysen, claimed the opposite in his report, which is why Kaysen was never charged with vehicular homicide. The family also accuses Middleton of turning off his body camera during the investigation, which may be true considering no mention of body camera video is in any of the reports. The article goes on to say that the trooper allowed Kaysen's family to remove items from the vehicle, which obviously compromised the crime scene. And again, this is why we read these cows. Again, a white cop let off another white person. A white cop let off another colonizer that he knew because all he did was murder a child with vehicular homicide being drunk and high. Why should he care? But pretending like white people can be in charge of policing us and not do a fucked up job of it is why things don't get fixed. Too many ninjas that should be speaking up on it, trying to get along and say nice things about them instead of saying you're not mentally capable of acting right because of who you are, how you were raised, and your bloodline, and the fact that this entire department is racist. There should be an X amount of black people in every police department because white people are not going to police black people properly. You can't do it. And the ones that do, you don't get to take offense because it doesn't change the fact that most of you don't do it well, which is why things like this happen all of the time. A 7-year-old was murdered by somebody in a car drunk and high. And the natural instincts and the first thing that this state trooper tried to do was get him off by lying in his report, allowing his family to remove whatever drugs and alcohol he had in the car and walking him through the system. And they're still not charging him with what he deserves. I'll elaborate on this when I finish the cows and give out the actual cow award. But events like this, actions like this, that are frequent, by the way, situations like this, actions like this, events like this are why we say on this show on a regular basis without apology,
I don't like fucking cops. I don't like fucking cops.
Again, I will elaborate after the reading of the last cow. You might not win in a tough field, but you will be recognized.
White people have never been clean. Not now, not ever.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
Second cow comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. Trying to make sure that this is right. That's the name of a real city? Okay. Cow nomination to the Spotsylvania DA for charging a 27-year-old black man by the name of Tyler Chase Butler with second-degree murder and other charges after he shot and killed a teenager after they were playing a TikTok prank by knocking on his door at 3 a.m. I remember hearing about this again. According to Atlanta Black Star, quote, a Virginia man is being held without bond So stupid ass crackers knock on his door at 3 a.m. playing a prank. He defends himself. And they're charging him with murder. Instead of holding them accountable. But again, you're fucking with somebody's household trying to get attention on social media. Okay, house isn't sacred anymore. Allegedly opening fire on a group of teenagers playing a TikTok prank, killing one and wounding another in a late night incident that has ignited. Okay, what happened though? Y'all not saying what happened. That has ignited a debate over the limits of self-defense and social media fueled stunts. This isn't about self-defense. It's about the fact that a black man killed some crackers, so they're going to charge him. If we don't start telling the truth, man, you got to stop. Well, you know, self-defense. Stop talking about the law, goddammit. The people in charge are fucked up. Therefore, they're not going to apply it properly. This shit has to be said out loud, man. Otherwise, stop talking about this shit. Because keep talking about voting and shit ain't going to change a goddamn thing. These people know they fucked up. They haven't changed because they don't give a goddamn. So the first thing that has to be talked about is how fucked up they are. Killing one and wounding another in a late-night incident that has ignited a debate over the limits of self-defense and social media-fueled stunts. Tyler Chase Butler, 27, was arraigned Monday on charges of second-degree murder, malicious wounding, and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. How the fuck is that possible? A Spotsylvania County judge appointed him a public defender, fucking white people, and ordered him to remain in custody until his next court appearance on June 18th. Butler was arrested one day after the May 3rd shooting that left 18-year-old Michael Bosworth Jr., a fourth-year student at Massaponax High School, dead just hours before he was to attend his senior prom. Why are you telling us about a senior prom? Fuck his prom. Why are you at a grown man's house fucking around? You see how another teen survived after being grazed by a bullet, and a third teen was unharmed. Authorities say the incident happened around 3 a.m. on McKinley Lane in Fredericksburg, where Butler lives. Butler had called he called 911. And he called 911 to report a burglary. This is just white shit. Butler had called 911 to report a burglary in progress and told the deputies that he fired shots at suspects attempting to break into his home. But the surviving teens told investigators they were participating in a viral TikTok trend known as Ding Dong Ditch, the Ding Dong Ditch Challenge, ringing doorbells and running away. The juvenile stated that he and his friends had hit a couple of doors in the neighborhood, according to the court documents. Quote, the juvenile is not familiar with the neighborhood that they were in. The juvenile stated that they had to run to hide. The juvenile said as they were running from a residence, he and his friends were shot at. A detective confirmed that both teens gave consistent accounts. And one showed a similar prank video on their phone recorded earlier that night. What's your point? Detectives seized the teens' iPhones with search warrants to locate any videos or communications related to the challenge. That's not a... Why are y'all talking about this shit like it's something normal? Going to somebody's house at 3 a.m, I did that shit as a kid. If they would have bucked at me, it was my fault. I was doing dumb shit. Get the fuck out of here. Bosworth was struck in the torso and later died at Mary Washington Hospital. The surviving victim was treated and released. In a news release, the sheriff's office said a caller had reported that 3 individuals were attempting to kick down a door before shots were fired. Authorities have not publicly confirmed whether Butler himself made the emergency call. The shooting has stirred deep emotions and strong opinions across the Spotsylvania County community and online. Strong opinions. Once again, white people cannot be in charge because they are inherently biased. They're never going to do right. They're always going to have empathy for white people, no matter what the hell they do. And that reflects the way that most of these cases are, damn near all of these cases are handled. 99% of them, 95% of them. You can't expect them, even when they think they're being fair, they don't even know what that means. They won't even acknowledge their privilege. Therefore, they cannot be fair about this because they're too busy defending how they don't have it easier in a country that they stole. Yet another example of why pretending like white police or any policeman working in a racist system that they have to adjust to is going to act right is fucking crazy. The black police, half of them are just as fucked up because they have to be Anglophiles to do the job. The ones that aren't usually quit and or are harassed. or they don't say anything because they don't want to fuck up their pension. Because if you do the right thing and call out a cop for being wrong, they're not going to get rid of that cop and say, thank you for letting us know. They're going to fire you and fuck with you and ruin your career. Once again,
I don't like fucking cops.
there have been several other stories where black people were minding their own business. A cracker killed former NBA star that went to Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. There was some type of road rage incident. He walked up on this nigga, I think it was Will Smith, shot him, stood over him and said, I told you not to fuck with me, and shot him a couple more times. White police showed up and sent him home. Said, you can go home that night. And then the bitch-ass white cop got on air and was mad because he was being called racist. Old cracker stands over a nigga and kills him, talks shit. Eyewitnesses tell you this. You let him go home that night. Yes, you're racist, you ignorant piece of shit. And instead of learning about how fucking ignorant you are, you get offended and throw a tantrum. I got a dumbass motherfucker at work doing the same shit. You know what? Let me not talk about that. I'll just tell y'all after the fact when I have to administer discipline. If he called 911 and thought somebody was breaking in, he has every right to feel that way. Because nobody should be fucking around on his door. And by the way, what we call it in the South is nigga knock, which is a stupid term. It probably has racist fucking beginnings. But that's what we called it when we were kids. Y'all want to go nigga knock? I know some people call it ding dong, whatever this shit is, whatever the hell they called it on this. I'm just telling you what we called it growing up. But the point in doing that is to actually startle people, to get their attention. So when you knock. You knock hard as fuck, making it sound like somebody's trying to kick in the door. They just have empathy for white children because they're white. It's that simple. And as long as that isn't discussed and you pretend like all these motherfuckers are pristine individuals, man, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You might not win in a tough field, but you will be recognized.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
It's interesting. Mom doesn't usually call me around this time of evening. I'll call her back shortly. I'm about to end the show. Last cow nominee comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. Cow nomination to a colonizer by the name of Tyler Chambers, who threatened to shoot a 9-year-old black girl who was going door-to-door fundraising. According to the Atlanta Black Star, the mother of a 9-year-old girl is demanding criminal charges against a Florida homeowner who posted a doorbell camera photo of her daughter on social media and threatened to shoot her. I don't understand all this talking. The homeowner, Tyler Chambers, faced an intense wave of backlash online for posting the image of a community Facebook group with the caption, "You're lucky you weren't home. You lucky we weren't home to shoot your ass, dumb bitch." Yeah, I don't understand the talking. This motherfucker would be so hurt. Oh my God, he'd be so hurt. You got to discipline your pets, man. I'm telling you. Y'all better discipline your pets. These motherfuckers are going to get out of control. I got one I got to discipline. Screenshots of the post were reposted and shared numerous times on social media, and many online users condemned the violent threats Chambers made against the child. Beyond Envy spoke to the Atlanta Black Star about her and her daughter's reactions to the viral post and how the investigation local authorities have launched into the post is shaping up. Envy says she learned her daughter went viral early last week. She said her sister texted her, and then when she got home, her nieces rushed out of the house to tell her that Sincere's face was all over social media. She went to Chambers' home on April 15th to confront him directly. As a concealed weapons license holder, she said she was carrying a gun in her purse. Why was it in your purse? That's too hard to get to. For self-defense. For self-defense purposes, because Chambers' post made her worry about how he might react to her visit. You don't really need to explain that. You should have showed up with it in your hand. But he and his family weren't home. After deciding to call officers and report Chambers and the viral post, Envy said authorities told her that Chambers and his family fled their home after people started doxing his address and place of work. Envy and her daughter Sincere were later interviewed by detectives about the 9-year-old's visit to Chambers' home. So they got so much heat they had to leave their home. They got so much heat they had to leave their home.
God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
Won't he will?
God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
That's much better, community. That's much better than all these bullshit nice conversations. Yeah, make them feel that they need to get the hell out the house for that. Thank you.
God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
You gonna get us in trouble. You black, you live in America, you in trouble. I can't get you in no trouble.
A child came to your door fundraising. You saw a videotape after the fact, and your reaction was, let me make sure I get this quote right. You're lucky we weren't home to shoot your ass, dumb bitch. Man, this is a tough field right here. This is a tough field right here, Sluggo. This is a tough field right here, Sluggo. Hey, listen, man, I'm sorry. I normally don't do this, and I don't have the sound bite. But to quote the great JBJ, I vote for all these motherfuckers. But let me elaborate. Tyler Chambers, you should be left alone with a grown man and then tell him about your desires of what you want to do to a 9-year-old child who did nothing more than ring your fucking doorbell. You should be with multiple members of her family of the male persuasion so they can talk to you about that. And by talk, I mean beat you to within an inch of your fucking life. A lot of these individuals are going to let their president get their ass whooped. And when things like this occur all the time, I'm sick of the only commentary focusing on, oh, this is the minority. This isn't everybody. I don't give a fuck how many it is. When it happens, it should be stomped the fuck out. And it shouldn't be stomped out with conversation. You don't threaten a child. You don't threaten my child. I guess I'm glad I have this look because I can't imagine being tried like that. I cannot fucking imagine. Tyler Chambers. I wish you could get locked in a room with multiple members of her family so they can talk to you further about how you wish you were at home so you could shoot her for ringing your doorbell. Well, if it's justifiable to threaten a child because she rung your doorbell, it's definitely justifiable to kill you for threatening a 9-year-old child. You should leave the planet by way of hands, feet, bats, and knives. The knives should be last because that could cut an artery. He'd go too quick and it can't be easy. And it should be public because the public needs to understand this is not acceptable. The same way when you see dumb ninjas, can I have a hug? Wanting to hug some bitch that murdered your brother. This creates a certain mindset. But if consequences happen for unacceptable behavior such as this, you will notice it. You'll notice the decrease in these actions. But when you're dealing with a very simple-minded, childish, spoiled group of motherfuckers who are empowered by an incredibly stupid, ignorant, terrorist, raping son of a bitch that they elected because they're worthless, stupid, ignorant, and more concerned about glorifying their piece of shit ancestors than they are being decent human beings. Check these motherfuckers. In a different week, you might have failed to decide and been just a nominee. But Tyler Chambers, you deserve to lead this planet by way of relatives of this child, because again, if you can shoot and kill her for not ringing your doorbell, threatening a child is 100% a death sentence. Fuck you, fuck the air you breathe. In a special week, you are the colonizer of the week. And we're not going to run everything until we get to the end because it would be tedious. But I can do this.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
Also winning the Cow Award this week, the Spotsylvania District Attorney for charging Chase Butler with second-degree murder for defending his home. When you play the little knocking game, you knock on the door and it sounds like somebody's trying to kick it in. The reason why he thinks somebody's trying to break in his house is because it's 3 in the fucking morning. My black ass can't knock on anybody's door 3 in the morning playing a joke, suffering consequences as a result, and act like I didn't do something. It's 3 in the morning. My door, I hear knocks on my door like somebody's trying to kick it in. I'm watching whites murder black people for no reason whatsoever. I defend my home, and now I'm charged because whites are in charge of the system. In this situation, I wish the DA and everybody involved would have to deal with the same type of situation to where they feel like they're defending themselves or trying to use their privilege and they get charged with murder because they're not going to understand through reason because they're not reasonable. You can only hope that these same actions can occur. They're only going to learn through suffering. Only. So in a situation where I'm almost guaranteed that if it was reversed, they would have so much more compassion. And they would look at the black kids as criminals as opposed to just kids playing a prank. As the article put it, this happened the day before he was going to go to his prom. They wouldn't have said anything like that if this was Tyrone, Marquise, and Terrence. For your biases and your short-sightedness and looking at this as another opportunity to lock up a black man, I wish this situation fell upon everybody charging. And everybody charging them, I wish they would get charged with this type of crime because literally it would be the only way that they understand. But you cannot have these type of people judging us and pretending like they're not biased. They are and they always will be, especially in this situation where they just watched a terrorist attempt to throw the government overthrow the government, and then they turn right back around, allowed him to run for president, threw away all the charges, and these worthless motherfuckers elected him. Why wouldn't you think they would be empowered to act the way that they're acting? And yet and still I have black people mad at me because I dare to say maybe, just maybe, somebody that claims to be black and is in one of these positions should fucking say something. And your response is you hate women. I actually love black people. Therefore, I don't understand why all of these black people that scream about voting, why do all of you think you're a second-class citizen? And you believe that because you don't think you deserve the same thing that everybody else gets. That's the only thing I can come up with when you're screaming at us when we're saying, hey, is it possible that a politician can actually care about us being fucking killed? Do you think you can mention that? And there's never an intelligent response. Man, we just need to get in there. So what? So we can be somebody that stands there and never says anything? It's not humanly possible to be black, see this happen to us, and not feel something. And if you do, you're not of us. You're no longer of the tree. And that is God Almighty. I cannot remember whose quote that is. You rose so far away that you're no longer of the tree. I can't remember whose quote that is. But to the entire system charging Tyler Chase Butler, I wish they were in his shoes because that's the only way they would gain perspective. In a unprecedented week where I'm not choosing one, you also are the colonizer of the week.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
Last but not least, Dalton Carson murdered a 7-year-old black boy by the name of Logan Sharp. Pierce County prosecutors refused to charge him with vehicular homicide. And Chase Middleton, the state trooper, lied on his report to help out a colonizer that he knew. Because he looked at a 7-year-old boy dead in the street and felt nothing to the point where his only concern was getting this white man off. And that's why white people cannot be in charge of investigating and policing us and judging us, with us sitting back and pretending like they have any intentions on being fair. It doesn't matter how many good ones there are if there's one like this and there's way more than one. 7-year-old dead kid, your first priority. Let's get the murderer off. Everybody I just mentioned, including the DA that doesn't want to press the charges, Dalton Carson, and this state trooper by the name of that I just said, Chase Middleton. All of you deserve to die via vehicular homicide. And then they can get in reverse and back up and hit you again to make sure that you leave the planet. You're not going to learn from talking. There's no excuse for that. You were drunk and high. It doesn't matter. You made a mistake. You took a child's life. You need to go. The state trooper saw a dead kid in the street, and his natural instinct was, how can I get this white man off? I'm going to talk to people and lie about their statements so he can get off. And the DA refuses to charge him with murder because all of them feel nothing. Whether they are white or not, I don't know who works in the DA's office. You work for a racist infrastructure. You will follow these guidelines or you will not work here. I'm only saying that because a lot of black people like to find out somebody black is involved, like a judge, and you think that dismisses the race thing, which makes you fucking stupid. You don't become a judge unless you bend over and do what the hell they say, for the most part. Perhaps you have empathy in other situations, but you've compromised yourself at one point. They would never put you on the bench if you did. So in some ways, you have to believe in this structure. You wouldn't be part of it. I digress. All three of these individuals deserve to die the same way that fucking 7-year-old did when he was minding his business and he was the victim of a drunk and high individual when this country claims they care about children and vehicles and driving under the influence. But only if you have the right paint job. All of you individuals deserve to leave the planet painfully. And all of you are the colonizer of the week.
Julius finds you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Since all three of them got it, let's run that one more time.
17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
I don't like fucking cops.
This is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Let me catch up on this chat. Oh, thank you for the clarification, Sluggo. I struggled with that one. The first one needed additional details, sir. Tertiary, a.k.a. thirdly. Tertiary. I think I got that right after about the 8th time. Tertiary. I got you. That means thirdly. I got you, sir. Thank you for increasing my vocabulary. Y'all give me every now and again. Tertiary. I think I said that right after about 8 attempts, but I did fuck that up. Raider for Life said, you cannot ascribe morality to people in positions of authority automatically. People in these positions lie all the time. Man, preach. Again, you cannot ascribe morality to people in these positions of authority automatically. You can't do that. You can't ascribe you can't just say you're in authority. I know you're a good person. Let me allow you to do it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And when that's not discussed and the only thing you're worried about is their feelings and them having to deal with words, you're missing the goddamn boat. But preach, Raider, preach. Sluggo telling Raider to preach.
Amen, preacher.
Raider said, didn't they actually try to break in? Again, they're leaving those details out. Sidney Jackson said, I call BS on that. Those punk kids were trying to break into his house for money to buy meth. That's quite viable. They are the number one users of meth and cocaine.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
And acid. And heroin.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
Sluggo said, malicious whining? Really? Raider said, from what I remember, the parents complained and said it was only a prank, quote unquote. 3 a.m, apparently in a black neighborhood, only a prank. I got a question. If it was only a prank, why the fuck didn't they do it in their own neighborhood? If it was only a prank. Okay. Sluggo said, and if I recall correctly, the neighborhood had recently experienced break-ins. Again, all of these things are part of the equation when you're trying to charge somebody, but you just see a dead cracker and a black man, and all you know, another opportunity to get one. Even if he gets off, you still fucked his life up. He hasn't been able to go to work. You didn't charge him with something. This shit ain't cool. But there's no consideration if you're a ninja. And it should be spoken about like that. It should be spoken about like that so young black people and people that don't know how to act. But when you're always telling these stupid ass lies and saying stupid shit like all police aren't bad and not telling the truth without making it palatable for a certain section of society that may need more suntan lotion than others, you're setting your kids up for failure because you're not even telling them what the fuck it is. Tell them what it is so they'll know how to move and know how to act. They won't say, I'm a citizen, I have a legal right to do this. They're going to say, I'm a black man in America. Let me think about how I need to move. That's half of the problem. Pushing this bullshit narrative that they have out trying to pretend like everything is glorious. At any fucking rate. Raider said, talk to my wife a lot about these people refusing to take accountability for their actions. It's part of their culture. Raider said, quote, hey, Billy, you know if you knock on somebody's door at 3 a.m., they might come and get you. Pretty much. Quote, hey, Billy, you know if you knock on somebody's door at 3 a.m, they might come and get you. 3 in the fucking morning. Okay, man. Thank you, JBJ. Appreciate that, sir. Sluggo said, fled their home. That's it, folks. Nothing else to see here. We're not calling a bolo. Fled their home. Clarify what bolo means again. I know I should know that. I forget. But that made me smile that they got bothered enough to where they felt, and this isn't a word, but unsafe, and fled their home. Thank God.
You will be discarded in the prisons of hell. You will be discarded in the prisons of hell.
JBJ said, I vote for all those motherfuckers. I had to go with your quote today, sir. I vote for all those.
Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
Raider said they have a lot of courage behind keyboards or in a group. Individually, they are all cowards. And again, bombs must be dropped when bomb drop statements are made. As Sluggo said many times in the chat, and as we've observed, when they have numbers, they're real tough. As Raider just said, quote unquote, They have a lot of courage behind keyboards or in a group. Individually, they are all cowards. Yeah, JBJ. Yeah, dude. It's I'll never forget that quote. And again, I understand his brother's the one that got killed, but and again, if I'm not mistaken, they killed the neighbor that told on the bitch that went in the man's house and killed him. The cop, if I'm not mistaken, the neighbor told on him. They murdered the neighbor. Shortly after that trial, they murdered the neighbor. Again, no news, no outrage. They don't give a fuck. They murdered the goddamn neighbor. That's crazy. Okay, sorry for that pause. That is crazy. All right, my apologies. I can't believe that not being there is crazy. There are so many things that just aren't where they should be, and that is bothersome. But it's okay. JBJ said, quote, "Can I have a hug?
Sick help! Sick help!
Replacement.
Sick help! Sick help!"
That was crazy. Bitch murdered your brother. And you gave her a fucking hug, and then multiple people came up and hugged her. Why do you feel sorry for a bitch that murdered your brother? I just want to know, can I have a hug? Can I have a hug? Man, I would have been like, yeah, can I? As soon as I would have got my arms around her, I would have slit that bitch's throat. That cop got close, but they weren't close enough to stop you from slitting her fucking throat. Fucking bullshit, man. Sluggo said, at 18, my vehicle broke down around 9 or 10 p.m. Obviously, it was pre-cell phone days. So I knocked on the door to use the phone. Whoever it was, most likely a colonizer, started shooting. I just hauled arse. Once again, thank you for that story. 9 or 10 at night, he knocked on the door because there were no cell phones then. He was 18. I'm trying to get to a phone to call somebody, more than likely family, to come help me get my car. They started shooting at Sluggo. He took off running. And that was at 9 or 10 at night. This person very well could have just saw Sluggo and started shooting. You know, I don't know any bad people. You know what I'm saying? Why this nigga knocking on my door? Which is completely fucked up. But again, we're talking about people that act in the ways of savages, or at least support and celebrate savages. If you celebrate the 4th, you're celebrating savages. There was something said about the 4th. I can't remember who said it, but what never gets talked about. We didn't win shit. That was white shit. If you understand history and go back and read it, you would have been rooting for the British because they were the ones offering us to cross over and come to their side and go back and kill the motherfuckers who just enslaved us. That's a much better deal than being a slave for those motherfuckers. The only reason that America started letting black people fight is because the black people that were helping the Brits were kicking their motherfucking ass, and they had no choice. You would have been rooting for the redcoats. So there are so many details in that really should be discussed. But you're rooting for our oppression and everything that entails, celebrating that shit because it has nothing to do with us. Which is why when we were taught that was our day of liberation, it was fucking insulting. Because they expect us, and we are made to be a bastardized version of them. And anything outside of that, you know what? I know somebody I can play. Anything outside of that is met with vitriol. And I know what I'll close the show with, just along those lines. I know exactly what I'll close the show with. Let me get that in position. And what is that young lady's name? Wait a minute. Is this the right? Let me make sure. What is that young lady's name? Hold on. I know that's in here. Where's that at? I'm not going to stop yet. Give me 1 second. Carol Anderson. Now I could go, you know what? We're gonna close the show with two women. With two women and their quotes. Let's see, do I need to clear one more spot here? You can clear that because you know where it's at. Sorry, but let me continue to read the chat, but I'm getting two things in place to go perfectly with what we're talking about right here. Sluggo said, I was with my army buddy when this happened just outside of my hometown. Oh, you were with that. See? And again, guy got those in position. This is going to explain America's mentality when it comes to us and how they want us to act. The first one is going to be an example of how they've always compromised our history and the reason why they do it. Oh, be on the lookout. That's what Bolo means. Thank you. I didn't know that. Sluggo said the Emory professor. Carol Anderson, is that where she's at? Emory College? Okay, I got a quote from Carol Anderson and another quote from a young lady talking about Abu Bakr II. So I'll give you the quote about history first and then the quote that follows why America acts the way that they do towards certain black people. No, she actually talked about the source of white rage. So the last one is going to be Carol Anderson talking about the source of white rage. And before that, it's going to be an intelligent young lady, or mature woman rather, or intelligent woman speaking about Abu Bakr II and how it relates to the history of this country. And this is an example of how they've always edited and widened the history to make themselves look good, quite frankly. And she explains this. Sluggo said, not even murder. They won't even charge him with vehicular homicide, which is a much lesser crime. Exactly. Be on the lookout. That's what Bolo means. Thank you for that, sir. Thank you for that. Sluggo said, yes, sir. That should be the author of White Rage. Ah, that's, yeah. She said she set out to blow graphite on that fingerprint and understand and learn the source of white rage. I'll give you her quote as I get out of here. I've been really lazy about my outro, so let me stop doing that. Hey, man, appreciate y'all. Had a great time as always. And done in enough time to have an evening that isn't too late. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. I truly appreciate the back and forth. I consider the back and forth to be therapeutic, which makes all of you my de facto therapists. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the session. Moms taught me to cook when I was younger. I still love to cook to this day. I thank you for that skill set, moms. Moms also taught me to get the number from the female so I can be in charge of the situation. That game has served me well, and to this day, I thank you for that game, moms. And I look forward to seeing you at the end of the month. Mom's going to come down and kick it with me for a little bit. I get to spoil my moms a little bit. Grateful and appreciative of that. R.I.P. DT. Pops taught me to think all I speak, but speak not all I think. Simply put, that this means that sometimes you need to either shut the fuck up or at least think about what it is you're about to say and who you're about to say it to. Pops also taught me how to be a man. I appreciate that because I witnessed those who didn't get those lessons, and I'm glad I don't move in that manner. Appreciate you, sir. Wish I would have told you that more when you were here. Appreciate you folks right here, man. You never know. R.I.P. DT. And as always, I take a shot for Pop. R.I.P. DT. It's okay to think it's not illegal yet. If somebody teaches you something, take the time to look into it for yourself. This initiates the learning process. If they tell you, you're only getting taught. If you don't investigate and look into it, you'll never learn. meaning that anybody can tell you anything and you'll believe it wholeheartedly without investigation. This is what's known as selective ignorance. Never get taught, always learn. Look into whatever you're told. That's how you find out how you really feel about it. You find out if that's a good source of information and how you need to treat that person from that point forward. So never get taught, always learn. Investigate what you've been told to further your knowledge and to check the credibility of the source. Don't get taught, always learn. Pops taught me that a man that trims himself to suit everybody will soon whittle himself away, which is why I don't compromise who I am and, quite frankly, widen up my words for the temporary approval of those who have not yet earned my respect. And to quote the last line of Mass Appeal from the late, great Guru, I'll be kicking the reel while they'll be losing the race, trying to chase Mass Appeal. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for the back and forth as always. And as I always say on the way out, on the back end of those Cow Awards, we are at war in this country. We've always been at war. Please get at least one long gun and one short gun. Please take the time to go to the range and learn how to use said weapons, how to use them, clean them, carry them, and execute with them properly. Please have at least 1,000 rounds of ammunition for each. Please teach everybody you love and care about to do the same, or encourage them to do the same. Take the time to clear your house. You're sitting around chilling, you're in the bed, boom, your door's getting kicked in. How long does it take you to secure your weapon, secure the people in your house by yelling out a code or something that they know they need to grab their firearms and or lock their doors and get in their prospective positions? How long is it going to take you to do that? Go through your house and clear it efficiently. How long will it take you to do that? Practice doing it so it's muscle memory as opposed to a moment of panic. Take the time. Well, I take that back. Let me say this properly. Try to develop a mentality that will allow you to not hesitate to defend yourself, your property, and those who you care about. A good way to foster this type of mentality is to study where you came from, how you got here, and how you've been treated since you've been here. If you do that, I promise you, pulling that trigger will be a hell of a lot easier. I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for the back and forth. Thank you for the therapy. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, JBJ, taking a shot for Pops. Raider for Life said, hate to say it, but we are at that time that you have been talking about for years. Ammo and pow-pows for real. And Raider, again, I hate it. I said over and over again, I don't want it to be like that, but I can't ignore what I'm seeing. At this point, if you don't have some form of firearms, you either have way too much faith or you're being irresponsible. White America gained control of this country and everything they've ever had through pure violence and savagery, through the art of the gun. Without that, we would have taken this motherfucker over a long time ago. If not for the gun, manipulation, lying, being low down, underhanded, all of that shit, we'd be just fine. They always talk about handouts. We don't want a handout. We want you to get the fuck out the way. And history reflects that what I said is true. And again, when you bring it up, the same people benefiting from the bullshit their ancestors did disrespect you by smiling and pretending to be stupid. Once again, they're not equipped to judge you properly. On a wide scale, it's not possible. That's the reason why we are where we are, and too many people are worried about their feelings instead of what we're actually going through. Again, man, I appreciate y'all as always. We're going to go out with a woman speaking about Abu Bakari II, the history of the country, and how they've always lied about the true history. And we're going to go out with Carol Anderson telling you about the source of white rage. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for the back and forth. I will see y'all next time. As always, take care and be easy.
What do you do with all of this written literature and history that says that Abu Bakari II of Mali sent 200 ships to the west? One came back and said they were afraid that the others disappeared. And then to have Balboa find this village that looks just like Mali, where he was, what do you do with this information? You ignore it. You ignore it. Why? To preserve the myth of white superiority. That's what our whole educational process is devoted to. What do you do with this whole history? This is a written history, my dear. Written. I'm not talking about hearsay. I'm not talking about a griot said this. I'm not talking about something handed down from one generation to the other through voice. I'm talking about written history of the Egyptians. What do you do with this? You ignore it.
Don't see it. And so I set out to blow graphite onto that fingerprint, to be able to trace white rage throughout time, not all the way back to time immemorial with the dinosaurs, but at least up to the Civil War all the way through to 2016. And one of the things that became clear to me as I started thinking through how white rage works, it became clear to me that the presence of black people was not the trigger for white rage. There's that stunned, almost what you're talking about, Willis, look. It is the presence of black people with ambition. The presence of black people with drive. The presence of black people with aspirations. The presence of black people who achieve. It's the presence of black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage. And this society has therefore punished black resilience and black resolve.
Amen, preacher! Amen, preacher!
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.